that can get broken. Don't put it in there.
I'm not putting it in there.
Okay. All right, let's turn the sound off.
No.
You can't have that playing while I'm talking, so you have to turn the sound off, or you got to take it out of here. Your choice.
Take it to the dark.
Okay, you take it out there, but you can't have that playing while I'm recording. Happy Monday morning. Locations, folks. Tell me your locations in the comments, and we will get started shortly. There's a lot that needs to be said this morning. Give me your locations in the comments. We're going to get started in a moment. There is a whole lot that I need to say. I need to give a intervention to the political left, whether that be the Democratic Party, their supporters, uh, anti-Trumpists, anti-MAGAs, et cetera, et cetera. There's a PSA that needs to go out this morning, and this is urgent. Locations in the comments. And like the live, everybody. Like the live as y'all are coming in. Like the live as y'all are coming in. We're going to get started in a moment. Give me your locations. Let me make sure we are good with our streams. We are live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. Live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. It tells us that we are live on X. So let me verify. We are live on X. Good morning, X. Live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. My name's on all those platforms that I just mentioned. Is Dre All Day. That's X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Rumble. Just look up Dre All Day. That's my name on those platforms. We are live on Facebook. That's Facebook/Work on Your Game University. For Facebook users, we're live on Instagram. Instagram at Dre Baldwin, and live on TikTok. TikTok is Work on Your Game. As y'all are coming in, put your locations in the comments. Locations in the comments, and tap the screen, folks. Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. I'm going to shout out some locations. Then we're going to get into this because there's a lot that needs to be talked about this morning. So, yeah, we are good over here, good over there, good over there. Locations in the comments, folks. Let's see what we got. Let me shout out a few people, and then we shall get started. Carla, Indiana, first person in. Good morning to you. 140.6 Walnut Creek, California. Good morning. Ron Johnson, Gifted Badge. Good morning. KS Priest from Georgia. Laura Iggy Lover from Oklahoma. Who's Iggy? Vicky Veronique Bachan from Virginia. Good morning. Carol Ann Collins from New York. KS Priest, thank you to the Heart Me for the live. Appreciate it. Ron Johnson, Ohio. Good morning. Josiah, thanks for the follow early. Mark Gonzalez, MMA from Utah. Shout out to Utah. Shout out to MMA. Traditional All Day. Good morning. Renee D.U. from Greenville, North Carolina. Good morning. Giga Dad from North Carolina. Good morning. Jay Bird from Chi-Town. Good morning. Deborah Young from Texas. Good morning. Traditional All Day checking in from Charlotte. Good morning. The topic here today is, again, I'm giving a PSA, an intervention, a consultation of sorts to the Democratic Party because they have a problem right now, a big one that they are not even recognizing that they have. Deborah Young, good morning. And it is on the heels of what happened with Charlie Kirk a week and almost 2 weeks ago now. 12 days ago, what happened with Charlie Kirk in Utah. Lola Johnson checking in from Los Angeles. Shout out to Los Angeles. And what has happened, first of all, many of you probably know that there was a Charlie Kirk memorial celebration recognition that took place yesterday in Arizona, and nearly 100,000 people showed up to that event. Obviously, this event has galvanized MAGA, it has galvanized the Trump base, it has galvanized conservatives in general. And even bigger than that, I think it's galvanized just a lot of Americans, period, even those who are on the fence and may not necessarily be Republicans or necessarily MAGA. Also, what happened is that there was a House resolution known as the Charlie Kirk resolution, colloquially. And it started a little bit, it gained a little bit of attention because all the people in the House, there are 500 plus people in, not the House, excuse me, 500 plus people in Congress. Now, in this resolution vote, there were 310 votes in favor. 95 Democrat votes actually were in favor of this House resolution for Charlie Kirk. But 58 Democrats voted against the House resolution. The resolution was it was basically performative stuff. It's not like there's not a new law or anything like that. 58 Democrats voted against this House resolution. 38 voted present or just simply abstained. They just chose not to vote at all because they're cowards. They didn't want to come out and just actually show some humanity. At the same time, they didn't want to vote against it because they would look wholly insensitive. So they just did nothing. And these are the people that you voted for. These are your representatives. And this split exposed how sharply divided the party is, the Democrats that is, over how to respond to this Charlie Kirk assassination that happened 2 weeks ago. Now, Democrats such as our friend Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, niece of, what's our guy's name? I forgot his name now. I'm looking at Bernie Sanders. The niece of Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I mean that jokingly. She's not. I don't think she's actually his niece. She's gone on TV, and she was in a hearing, and she referred to Charlie Kirk as "quote unquote" ignorant. Ignorant means not to know something. So I don't know if she meant it that way. I think she meant it in more a pejorative way. But she called Charlie Kirk ignorant, and she said that his rhetoric sought to disenfranchise many Americans, which is a ridiculous thing to say, especially after he's already passed. Ilhan Omar has gone even further. She's been on TV, and she has been consistently amplifying any criticism of Charlie Kirk's, what she claims to be his ideological strategy, and what she has said is ideological legacy. She's using harsh language. She is quoted as calling Charlie Kirk full of shit. That's her quote. And she's talked about how defenders are trying to use his death to further their cause. That's her position. Now, Representative Jasmine Crockett, we know about her too, another Democrat. She has publicly scolded her white Democratic colleagues for not voting against the resolution. So she clearly was against it. She scolded her colleagues for not voting against the resolution, saying that, quote unquote, it hurt her heart, quote unquote, close quote, rather, that only 2 white Democrats voted no against this resolution. And she's trying to make it about a race thing. So this is a race hustle. That's literally what race hustling is. And she believes that Charlie Kirk constantly used rhetoric that targeted people of color, according to Jasmine Crockett. This is what she said. We're going to get into all of this in a moment. And Congressman Henry Cuellar, I've never heard of this person. I don't know if any of you know Henry Cuellar. Never heard of him. But he is a congressperson. He is actually making bills that become laws in our country, and I've never heard of him. He defended the resolution. He said that Charlie Kirk is a, open quote, courageous American patriot, close quote. But critics say by celebrating him as a model, Democrats are overlooking the controversial parts of his record, which is, again, a ridiculous frame to use. And again, I understand this is part of political theater, but we're going to get into why this is a bad idea for the Democrats, because that's what the topic is here today, why Democrats needed intervention. And I have appointed myself to deliver this intervention to the Democratic Party and to liberals and to Democrat voters and to anti-Trumpers and anti-MAGAs, even if some of you are in here listening. And by the way, moderators are in here. Do not silence the dissenters. We want the dissenters. Can't use the soundboard if there's no dissent. All right, so I can't use the soundboard without dissent. We need the dissenters. Let them breathe. Let them talk. Let them live. Let them. If somebody is trolling or spamming, then we can silence them and maybe mute them. But if they're not trolling or spamming and just disagreeing, let them disagree. So there's a line between those two. Do not silence any disagreement. So if I were advising them from the inside, I'm going to tell you exactly what I would say. But the problem that Democrats have right now, this is a problem that they had before Charlie Kirk. They had this problem in 2024 when all the lawfare against Donald Trump happened. Those are the 4 cases: Tish James, Alvin Bragg, Fannie Rose, Jack Smith. Those 4 cases that they brought against Donald Trump to try to block him from being on the ballot or make him somehow, some way ineligible for running for president in 2024. Everybody knows that that's what they tried. Whether you believe they had a right to do that or you don't believe they had a right to do it, everyone knows that they tried to do it. And the problem is it backfired. It backfired in the country voting for Donald Trump and him becoming the president, number 47 in the United States of America. So they already know that this strategy of tripling down on anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, and just being anti no matter what, without reason or logic, doesn't work in their favor. They just saw this happen. It would have happened had Joe Biden stayed on the ticket. It happened with Kamala Harris on the ticket. It didn't matter who the Democrat was. They galvanized this type of pushback from the political right and from voters in general because they went too far trying to demonize one side. Now with this Charlie Kirk thing, actually, let me back up. Once Trump's administration began in January, so we are let's just say 9 months into Trump's administration. Of course, any administration, once that side is in power, if it's a Democrat or a Republican, what often happens is that you have your midterm elections 2 years in. During those midterm elections 2 years in, usually you have some people who are dissatisfied with the current state of affairs. Now, why are there always people dissatisfied with the current state of affairs? Because humans are humans. Most human beings don't think, they don't read, and they're lazy, which means it doesn't matter who the president is. They're always going to have something to complain about because their lives are never going to be the way they want it because most people do not take responsibility for their own situations. So they blame the person who is most easiest to blame, who is usually the person sitting in the White House. It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or it's a Republican. Everybody does it. Not everybody, but when I say everybody, I mean the people who don't take responsibility for their own situations. So if you can blame the Democrat, you blame the Democrat if they're the person in power, i.e. Joe Biden or Barack Obama. If you can blame the Republican, if they're the person in power, you blame them, i.e. Donald Trump or George W. Bush. Interestingly enough, those are the only people that have been president in the last 25 years. Seems like that's crazy, right? But those are only people, 4 people. Bush, Trump, Biden, Obama. Yeah, that's it for the last 25 years. So in 2026, it would be expected before September 10th, week and a half ago, it would be expected that the Democrats would take it over at least one side of Congress. Either they would take the House of Representatives or they would take control of the Senate, meaning they would have a majority, more Democrats than Republicans. Right now, for those who don't know, the Republicans have a majority on both sides of Congress. They have more people, more Republicans are in the House of Representatives than there are Democrats, and there are more senators in the Senate who are Republican than there are Democrats. And the president is, on paper, a Republican. So Republicans have all this control over what's happening right now. And the Democrats have been crowing about that for good reason. They should be. And they were setting themselves up to take back at least one side of Congress, either the House or the Senate, in 2026. And it didn't even matter what Donald Trump did or said, because there's always going to be people who are pissed off about the situation and they're going to vote the opposite way. Okay, we don't like what the Republicans are doing. They're in charge, so it's their fault. Let's vote for the Democrats. We don't like what's happening right now. The Democrats are in charge. Let's vote for the Republicans. This is the way it goes back and forth. This is the reason why you don't see Democrats controlling for decades and you don't see Republicans controlling for decades, because of this continued balancing out, and it keeps going back and forth. 2026 was shaping up to shift back to the Democrats before September 10th. Charlie Kirk passes away. Now, Charlie Kirk passing away, getting assassinated, was not necessarily the thing that was going to lead to the Republicans taking control all over again. It depended on what happened after the fact. And this is where we're at in the world today, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, that after somebody gets shot or you have some type of tragedy like this, usually something that results in somebody losing their lives, the conversation is not so much about the person who passed away and what happened to them and how it's so tragic what happened to that person, their family, and whoever they leave behind. It's about who did it, who was responsible, and what does everybody have to say about it. That's where we're at right now in the world, which is actually kind of crazy if you think about it. The conversation after somebody gets shot these days is who did it, who, if anyone else besides that person, is responsible, what side were they on? Were they Democrat or Republican? Are they black or are they white? Are they straight or are they gay? Are they liberal or are they conservative? What was pushing them to do what they did? Did they leave behind a note? Is it what group can we blame for the behaviors of this one individual person? What group can be blamed for what this one person did? This one person shot the gun. Let's see who we can blame. Oh, they're white, so we got to blame white people. Oh, they were raised conservative, so that must mean they're Republican. Oh, this guy was dating a trans person, so that must mean he's on the left. Was he part of a group? And there are people I saw posting about this on social media the other day, that it has been proven that this shooter was not part of any leftist political group, as if that's some type of winning point. It's like a talking point that I saw some Democratic paid influencers posting on X just yesterday, which is crazy to me because they're saying it as if it's some type of some point of defiance. And let's not forget, somebody lost their lives here. So, okay, we can't blame a group for it. So that must mean the Democrats are in the clear. Is that really what you're really going to get on your social media account with your real name and your real face and post that? Like, that's what you're doing? Now, this is where we are. And it was the response to the Charlie Kirk shooting that has the Democrats looking not too good right now. They don't look good right now. And the reason why they don't look good is because right now the Democratic Party is looking very insensitive. They're tripling down through some of their biggest voices with the biggest megaphones, the AOCs, the Ilhan Omars, the Jasmine Crockett's. I don't think these are the best that Democrats have to offer, but they are the biggest voices that Democrats have to offer. Being popular and being a person of substance are two different things. Sometimes you get both in one, sometimes you get neither one. And right now they are in a hole. And does anybody know what the number one rule is of being in a hole? There's a phrase that I'm looking for. It's a 2-word phrase. Does anybody know what it is? Put it in the comments. What's the number one rule if you ever find yourself in a hole? The first thing you should do once you realize that you're in the hole. Anybody know the answer? If you ever find yourself in a hole, literally a hole. I mean, it could be a metaphorical hole or a literal hole. Does anybody know the answer? All right. I'm not seeing anybody answering. Okay, the answer is stop digging. No, number one rule of being in a hole is to stop digging because you're already in a hole. So if you keep digging, the holes is going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. Right now, the Democratic Party is in a hole. How do we know they're in a hole? Because Donald Trump is the president and Republicans control both the House and the Senate. That's the hole that they're in. And when Charlie Kirk passed, their biggest voices, it's not everybody in the Democratic Party, but their biggest voices, the ones that we know about, they are tripling down on Charlie Kirk's not a good guy. And we don't need to pass any House measures, or we don't need to pass any, this is technically called a resolution. We don't need to pass any House resolutions. We don't need to celebrate this guy's life. It's unfortunate that he passed, and then the but basically undoes everything they said before the but, and then they go into trashing him all over again or trashing what they say he said. Then there are people pulling things that he said out of context and posting that like, oh, well, Charlie Kirk said this. So Charlie Kirk said, well, if I see a black pilot, then I'm wondering if they're qualified, without putting in the context of where that came from in the conversation and using that as a way to say that he was homophobic, racist, xenophobic, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all know all the things. Basically the same things they say about Trump. They're trying to pin those on Charlie Kirk. And this is taking them deeper into a hole that's putting them in a bad spot because we have to remember. Let's remember why politicians are in the game that they're in. Anytime that I'm working with anyone, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I work with plenty of athletes. I work with business professionals. First thing I want to know, anytime I'm dealing with a person, first thing I want to know is what's the goal? This is the first question. What is the goal? In other words, where are we going? What are we trying to accomplish here? What's the outcome that you're looking to achieve? For whatever reason, the outcome's not being achieved, at least not at the level that you want it to be achieved, which is the reason why I'm here, the reason we're having this conversation, the reason we're having this phone call. What's the outcome? What's the goal? Now, before you give me all the context, before you tell me all your problems, before you tell me everything you tried that didn't work and the stuff you tried that somewhat worked, before you tell me any of that, what's the goal? Where are you trying to go here? When I'm clear on where you're trying to go, now I will ask you for the necessary context from which I can understand how you ended up where you're at. All right, when I'm on coaching calls, group coaching calls, I was just telling my group just this past Saturday, I was on a call, my group called The Circle, which y'all can get in at workonyourgameuniversity.com. I was telling them that I want everybody, when you get on these calls, to start your time. When you get on you unmute yourself, start your time with my question is. Tell me what the question is first. I want to know what the question is first. Then you give me all the context. Because what often happens is people give me a whole bunch of context that is not necessary for me to answer the question. Give me the question. Then if I need context, I'll ask for it. Excuse me. And that saves us a whole bunch of time. Now, what does this have to do with the Democratic Party? Understand that when you're in politics, you are trying to win basically two things. Two things you're trying to win when you're in politics is number one, you're trying to win the headlines / press conference. In other words, you want how you come off and how your message comes off in the media to land in a way that makes you look good, puts you in the best possible light, and positions you to have favor in the minds and the eyes of the voters. All right, that's number one, is winning the press conference and winning the headline. If you win enough press conferences and you win enough headlines, then you get the ultimate outcome, number two, which is you win elections. You win elections so that you get to keep your job or you get to ascend to a new job. And so your party has power not only now, but also secures power into the future. Those are the two things you're always trying to do. The reason the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration were letting so many people into the southern border during the Biden administration between 2021 and 2020, early 2025, was because they were trying to win their headline. Their strategy for winning headlines was, we're going to allow a bunch of immigrants into the country. We're going to fast track them to legal status. Then Kamala Harris, she said this often during her campaign, her 107 days, we're going to fast track them to citizenship. We're going to create a fast track path to citizenship. Why does that matter? Because if those people become citizens, all these people who we, the Democrats, let into the country, if they become citizens, now they have the ability to do what? What would happen if they became citizens? Anybody know the answer? It's a one-word answer. Why did the Democrats want to allow those immigrants to become citizens or make them citizens as quickly as possible? Because then they would have the power to do one thing that the Democrats really want. Everybody knows the answer. They'd be able to vote. So y'all seeing the dots here that I'm connecting? The reason why they want to win the headlines and have all those immigrants believe Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Democrats, let us into America. They fast-tracked us to legal status. Then they allowed us to become citizens. Now we can vote. And guess who they're going to vote for? Who are all these immigrants going to vote for? The same immigrants that Tom Homan and Kristi Noem and Donald Trump are trying to get out of the country right now. If they ever become citizens, they're going to vote Democrat. And the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris process, I understand their strategy. I don't agree with their strategy, but I understand it. It was actually a sound strategy if they could have pulled it off. Now, whether they could have pulled that off or not in total is a question that I can't answer because we won't know because it got interrupted. Their process got interrupted. Had Kamala Harris beaten Donald Trump in 2024, she would have tried to push for what she kept saying during her campaign was a fast track to citizenship. In other words, how do we make it faster for people to become citizens in the United States of America? Right now, that process can take years. I've asked this question before in these lives. How many of you are or know somebody who's trying to become or did become a citizen in the United States as an immigrant? How long did it take? Give me a time. Just give me a time frame. How long it took, or how long it's taking still to this day. Give me a time frame. Any of you who has anybody or you have been somebody trying to get citizenship in America, how long did it actually take, or how long is it taking if it's still in process? So all of you are speaking in years. I see 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, 30 years, 10 years, years expensive, 10 years, 8 years, 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, 3 years. So you see this? What Kamala Harris was trying to do, what Kamala Harris was claiming she was going to do is create a fast track. So she was trying to take that 3 years and shorten it down to several months. Now, why would she want to do that? Because if it happened during her administration, let's say she had won and she was president right now, she would try to pass that as a law and get these immigrants, however many they allowed into the country, it was 10 million plus into the country. They become citizens, put them in states that are often battleground states. And now those battleground states are no longer battleground states. Now they're blue states, which will secure Democratic power well into the future, long after any Kamala Harris administration. That was the strategy. Again, I don't agree with the way that they went about it, but I understand what they were trying to do. It was actually a good idea if they could have pulled it off. They didn't pull it off. I'm bringing all that up to say, and actually one more thing about that. This is the reason why as soon as Donald Trump got in, the very first act of business for him was to get all of those immigrants the hell out of here. Why? Because if those people ever do become citizens, they're voting blue. And basically, after Donald Trump announced we're getting these people out of here, they're damn sure not voting red. They're going to vote Democrat if they ever become citizens. That's why Donald Trump, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, etc., are so urgent about finding those people and getting them out of here. And this is the reason why the Democratic Party has gone so hard in trying to demonize ICE and the agents and everything that they're doing and pushing those people out. Is not because they care about the health and safety and lives of these immigrants. It's not because these people are good people and they're paying tax. That's not the reason. Even if it's true, that's not the real reason. The real reason is Democrats understand long term, our job is to win elections and secure democratic power, whereas the Republicans understand what the Democrats are trying to do, and they're fighting against it. So it's a cat and mouse game of chess that is controlled by whoever has control of the White House. Right now, that's Donald Trump. That's the situation. Now, if a Democrat wins in 2028, they're going to start doing the same thing all over again. So pay attention. They're going to do the same thing all over again, i.e. open up the border, let a bunch of immigrants in, and start talking about fast-tracking citizenship all over again. That will happen. Now, if the Republicans win in 2028, then what they're going to do is keep kicking people out. All right, so pay attention. Remember that I said that. Why does all this matter? Because you only have two jobs when you're a politician. Win the headlines and win elections. That's it. Win the headlines, win elections. Those are only two objectives. You have no other jobs. So when the Democrats, after Charlie Kirk's assassination, they came out and they started saying, well, Charlie Kirk wasn't that good of a guy. I understood their knee-jerk reaction. I understand. Charlie Kirk was a MAGA. Charlie Kirk was a conservative. Charlie Kirk was a Trump supporter. Charlie Kirk helped Trump get elected. I understand how, as a Democrat, my knee-jerk reaction might be good riddance to that guy because he helped my opponent win. I get it. I actually get it. At the same time, after your knee-jerk reaction is over, then you have to calm down and ask yourself, all right, what are our two jobs again? What are the two jobs again of being a Democrat? Win the headlines, win an election. Let me not forget my job. I understand I react. You're a human being. You have a reaction. Okay, so Cory Booker has a reaction. Ilhan Omar has a reaction. AOC has a reaction. Jasmine Crockett has a reaction. They're human just like all of us are human. After you get done reacting, now you have to get to responding. And there's a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is something that happens instinctively without thinking. Responding is when you put a thought in between the stimulus and whatever it is that you do. And the Democrats have had plenty of time to think now. It's been 12 days. And their decision, after their alleged thinking, and I'm being generous here, is that they're going to triple down on bashing Charlie Kirk. Here's the reason why this is problematic. There are several reasons why it's problematic. One reason why it's problematic is because 90,000 people showed up to that stadium to celebrate Charlie Kirk yesterday. That's one reason. Why does that matter? 90,000 people is not enough to win an election. It's because that 90,000 represents a whole lot more who didn't show up. And a whole lot more who are already leaning to the right, already conservatives, already MAGA, already Trump supporters, combined with, because those people are going to vote right anyway, right? People who are MAGA, conservative, Trump supporters, they're voting Republican no matter what. All right, those are not the ones that Democrats care about. The ones that Democrats need to know about are the ones who are in the middle, because elections are decided by the people in the middle. So some of you are hardcore liberals, you're always going to vote Democrat. Some of you are hardcore Republicans, you're always going to vote Republican. Y'all are not the ones that politicians are trying to, you are, but you're not. The main ones they're trying to sway are the ones who are on the fence and the ones who are indifferent. Those are the people who, they look at every election, they say, all right, should I get up off my ass and actually go and vote? Do I care enough to vote for anybody, or should I do nothing? All right, that's one group they're trying to sway. And then there's other group of people who do always vote, but they're open-minded enough. This is about 5% of voters, 5%. Who are open-minded enough that they can vote Democrat or Republican every election. These are the people that politicians actually need to sway. Now, when they preach to the choir, i.e. Donald Trump talking to a bunch of MAGA people or Jasmine Crockett talking to a bunch of liberals, they preach to the choir for a reason, because if you can get a bunch of your choir excited, then it can draw in those skeptical people who are on the fence and say, oh, well, everybody's all excited over here. Maybe I'll go over there. Everybody's excited over here at MAGA. Maybe I'll go over towards MAGA. Which side looks like it's more exciting, I'll go that way. So that is a reason why you preach to the choir. And when you preach to the choir these days with social media, those people in your choir can become your advocates, and they can help you win elections, because they can go grab disciples for you. They can go get followers who come in on your behalf. This is what Charlie Kirk did for Donald Trump, which is why a lot of Democrats didn't like Charlie Kirk, because he was part of the choir that Donald Trump preached to. And because actually Donald Trump, he was being preached to long before this. He was in politics 12, 13 years ago. But because, and Donald Trump has damn near been around just that long, because Donald Trump was able to galvanize someone like Charlie Kirk to come help him, a lot of Democrats didn't like him. So I understand their reaction. That guy's going good. That's one less problem for us to worry about. The problem with the problem is that now you're looking like you've forgotten about your humanity in the process of going after politics. This is a problem for the Democrats. If I was hired as a consultant for the Democratic Party and I walk into the room, the boardroom, and all their top people and top voices are sitting in the room, they're all already seated around the long table, and I walk in, I'm not shaking anybody's hands. I'm not greeting anyone. I'm not turning on the slideshow projector. I'm not even saying good morning. The first thing I'm going to say is, what the fuck are y'all doing? And I would just stand there and just let that sit for a minute in silence. And I would just look around and just let that statement sit in silence. And then I would remind them, do you remember that as politicians, y'all have two jobs? You really got one job and one sub job that helps the main job. You got one job. The one job is win elections and secure democratic power. That's the job. And to do that, you need to win the headlines. You need to win the press conferences. This man died, and you all keep tripling down on how bad of a person he was. So we're not going to do anything to celebrate him, to show any type of contrition or anything for this man's life and his family's life. This is what we're going to do. Y'all just going to triple down on that. Do you notice that you're losing the headlines right now? Y'all notice that? And this is me talking to the Democratic Party. Do you notice that this is not working? I get it that your fans are co-signing it, but here's the problem. Getting cosigns from your fans led to what happened in November 5th of 2024. Do you remember what happened? Ilhan, you remember what happened? AOC, do you remember what happened? Jasmine Crockett, do you remember what happened? Kamala, I see you over there in the back. Do you remember what happened? Gavin Newsom, do you remember what happened? Cory Booker, Hakeem Jeffries, do you remember what happened? Nancy Pelosi calling in on Zoom. All right, do you remember what happened? November 5th, 2024, you lost the presidency, you lost the Senate, and you lost the House of Representatives. Yet, you're going to triple down on preaching to your choir. Your choir ain't big enough. Your choir is not big enough. Y'all can't win this way. What are you doing? You can't win. You already lost doing this. You tried this in 2024. You lost 3 times. Presidency, House, Senate. You lost all 3. Now you're going to triple down on it? Somebody died now. It's one thing when we were just talking politics. Now a guy dies. Y'all going to triple down on saying this guy's not a good guy. Okay. If y'all were already in power, then maybe that'd be a good idea, because doing what you did in 2024, this is an advancement of that. Doing what you did in 2024, if Kamala had won and the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate, and they were doing what they're doing right now regarding Charlie Kirk, I wouldn't say I wouldn't agree with it, but I would say I understand. I would say I understand your strategy, because clearly you've already proven in the election that this works. But since it's already been proven in the election that this doesn't work, why would you keep doing the same thing? This is why I say the number one rule of being in a hole is to stop digging. The Democrats are continuing to dig even though they're already in a hole. This is a very bad idea. Now, one thing that's good for them, one saving grace they have, silver lining to this cloud, is that it's only 2025 and not 2026. If this had happened in September of 2026, the Democrats would not win the midterms. They would lose again. And Donald Trump would see 4 straight years of having control of all of Congress, as well as him being the president, if this happened next year instead of this year. The only saving grace the Democrats have right now is that over the next year, people might forget about this. They might. Now, if the Republicans have any intelligence whatsoever, and they have any shrewdness whatsoever, they won't let people forget what's happening right now. Their job is to make sure people remember this next year. Because if this was September 22nd, 2026, I would go on. I'm not even a betting person. I'm not a gambler, but I would go online and I would gamble on the Republicans keeping control of both the House and the Senate in the 2026 midterms. I would bet money on that easily if it was 2026. But because human beings have short memories, Democrats have a chance to redeem themselves, but they got to calm down. Right now, they're looking really, really bad on a human level. And a human level does matter when we're talking about life and death, literal life and death. Human level, people can take it or leave it when we're just talking politics. When we're talking life and death, and a lot of people are paying attention, and everybody has something to say about this, and damn near 100,000 people just showed up to that memorial for that man that passed away, it doesn't really matter what you personally think about him, Ilhan Omar, AOC. What's the job? What's the goal? Anytime, if I'm in that room, in that boardroom with all the Democrats, the loudmouth Democrats, and they matter because they're the ones who get the messaging out. and they start pushing back with telling me how Charlie Kirk was bad and he said this, and they start pulling quotes and all this stuff, I would interrupt them. Excuse me, AOC. Excuse me, Bernie. What's the goal? What's the job? And they would shut the hell up because they keep forgetting their job. They're in the process of trying to win the righteousness battle. And there's this thing that we call the Pyrrhic victory. Any of you ever heard of this, the Pyrrhic victory? The Pyrrhic victory is named after a general back in the day. And the whole concept of the Pyrrhic victory is when someone wins the battle but loses the war. All right, the Pyrrhic victory is when you win the argument, but you end up getting fired from the job. Where you say something and you feel good for saying what you said, but in the long run, it actually costs you more than it gains you. In other words, cutting off your nose to spite your face, metaphorically speaking. Democrats are trying to get Pyrrhic victories. They're trying to play the moral high ground here. Well, Charlie Kirk was a morally bad person, so we're going to keep attacking his name, while at the same time, they're making themselves look bad in the headlines, and this is going to cost you election votes. That's why this is a bad idea. Because, again, in politics, your job is to win elections. It's not to be right, it's to win elections. There's a difference between being right and being accurate. Being right is about my opinion versus your opinion. Let's argue, let's debate, let's see who can slam dunk on the other person, and let's get social media to say I won versus social media saying that you won. That's the argument of being right. Whenever you see people arguing about opinions, both people are trying to be right. And there's a time and a place for that. It's very entertaining, for example. Charlie Kirk, amongst others, did that event where they sit in the table in the middle of the room and then 20 people come and they run up to the chair and argue with them. That's about being right. Because what's the actual goal of doing that? Nothing. It's all entertainment. So there is value in being right, because a lot of people will turn on that video and watch it. That video of Charlie Kirk arguing with 20, let me see if I can pull that video up. That video probably has 30 million views to this very day. Have all y'all seen that video? Charlie Kirk versus something. Let me see if I can find it. Charlie Kirk versus 25 woke students has 36 million views on YouTube to this very day. Y'all can go find the video. It's about an hour and a half long. I have seen that video. It's entertaining. Did I learn anything? No. But it's entertaining. So entertainment obviously sells. 36 million views in a year is pretty good. But the ultimate outcome is accuracy. Accuracy is about what produces the determined outcome. Accuracy is, here's what we're trying to do. Is what we're doing leading to this outcome? If yes, then yes, it's accurate. If no, then no, it's inaccurate. Is a yes or no binary, black and white. Democrats right now are putting themselves in a bad position with regards to accuracy in the name of trying to be right. What all of you need to be careful with, and this is all of you outside of politics, just your everyday life. Do not sacrifice accuracy for rightness. And right now, that's what the Democrats are doing. They're sacrificing accuracy, i.e. winning elections, for rightness, i.e. let's bash Charlie Kirk because, here's a quote of him saying something racist, allegedly. At this point, that doesn't matter anymore. And how do we know it doesn't matter? Because 100,000 people showed up for this man's funeral, not to mention probably 100 million who watched it online. I didn't even watch all the stuff, so let me look that up, actually. Let me see. Charlie Kirk event that happened yesterday. I mean, there are clips. I don't know if they have the whole thing. Oh, yeah, the whole thing was on. This whole thing was streamed on Fox 4 Dallas Fort Worth. This is the video that I'm seeing. The entire video is 9 hours long, so they put the whole event out. This stream on Fox 4 Dallas Fort Worth, 1.6 million views 13 hours ago. And there's a ton of videos about this. So every platform who was there streamed a whole bunch of stuff. And there's 5 hours. You got Donald Trump was there. Donald Trump sitting next to Elon Musk, and they're supposedly enemies. They're sitting next to each other. Erica Kirk gave a whole speech. Everybody was there. Not Donald Trump, but the Trump administration sent 2 airplanes there. This is a big deal. All right. Everybody politically, especially on the right, were all at this event. And everybody who supports the right were all at this event. And here's what I theorize. All the people in the middle were paying attention. And they're also paying attention to the Democrats right now, who are tripling down on, he was racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-LGBTQ, et cetera, et cetera. Democrats have a problem. And I've been telling y'all this since before Charlie Kirk. Have I not been saying this? I've been saying this all year. Their problem is their entire frame is based on whatever the Republicans do, we're going to push back against that. They have no platform of their own right now. Democrats have no platform, no form, no identity. Their entire identity is whatever the Republicans do, we're just going to be anti that. Okay, that worked when it's Donald Trump and it's, hey, the price of eggs are still going up. Hey, the economy's still not that great. Hey, Donald Trump did these tariffs and it's putting people out of business. Hey, everything that Donald Trump promised he didn't do. Hey, the Epstein files, whatever you want to say about that. That works when you have some negative things the Republicans are doing and you can just keep platforming that. Oh, look at this negative, this negative, this negative, use it against them. That's why in the midterms, usually, whoever is in charge, they end up losing a little bit of leverage because whatever is going wrong, which often there are plenty of things, there's always something going wrong. You use that against them and you get some power back yourself. You claw back some of your own power. Democrats will do it to the Republicans do it to the Democrats. The problem is they're taking this issue of somebody dying and they're trying to use this as the frame for the problem. And I am theorizing that they're going a little bit too far. They're going above and beyond the politics now, and this is going to hurt them. And if it was 2026, this would be a death blow to their chances in the midterms. They got a chance because a year is a long time for people to remember stuff. But something like this might not be forgotten. If the Republicans are smart, they won't let this be forgotten by the voters. Let me introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books, done a few TED Talks, run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our job here is to help you weaponize discipline and performance and turn it into measurable results. Again, which is why I just told you, what's the goal? That's our whole game is what's the goal? Once we're clear on the goal, then we can work on the process for getting there. So the Democrats, when they oppose this resolution, this House resolution, which again is basically performative, it's just a thing that they want to do just to show some love for Charlie Kirk. And it did pass because, remember, House of Representatives is controlled by the Republicans. So it did pass, but the Democrats voting against it and speaking out against it just, again, making themselves look stupid for no reason. Why are you doing this? Why are you digging a deeper hole into this? They're trying to attack Charlie Kirk's legacy, and they believe that they are holding speakers accountable, i.e. Charlie Kirk. They're holding a dead man accountable. This is what they're trying to go off of. This is a very bad strategy. I don't know how many different ways I got to say it, but I'm going to keep saying it. This is a bad strategy. You can't hold a dead man accountable. Again, he's not Osama bin Laden. Okay, it's Charlie Kirk. Okay, he's a speaker who will speak at colleges to college kids and argue with them about politics. All right, there are levels to this shit. There's levels to somebody not being a good person. All right, we can't put him on the same category as the guy who used to run Germany. You can't put him on the same category as Osama. He's not on that level. He was a political speaker. That's who he was. And some people try to diminish him by saying he was a podcaster. Okay, he was a podcaster. So now you're going to trash the legacy of a podcaster and you're going to go to Capitol Hill and you're going to keep saying that? That's what you're going to do? And this is what you call holding him accountable? That you can't ignore the quote-unquote harmful rhetoric that he put out just because he got killed. Again, it's already been proven. The world has already spoken. America has already spoken, Democrats. That's not a good talking point. Your frame is y'all don't have enough people. The people who agreed with you in November. And Republicans control the three groups that make the laws. Congress, which is the Senate and the House, and the White House. America said Republican, Republican, Republican. They had three choices: Republican, Republican, Republican. So you continuing to do what you're already doing obviously doesn't work. That's the frame that I'm giving. So many progressive constituents, they believe some moral clarity that they have. This matters, and letting controversial statements go unchallenged feels like they're being complicit. Again, the man's dead. You can't challenge a controversial statement of somebody who's not alive anymore. He can't speak for himself. He was alive for a long time. He did a lot of events. I never saw AOC show up at a Charlie Kirk event to debate him. I didn't see it. Did y'all see it? I didn't see it. He was pretty much out there. But now, all of a sudden. Now, aggressively bashing Charlie Kirk's legacy while voting for a resolution that praises him opens you up to acute accusations of hypocrisy. Here's another problem the Democrats have. 2016, let's remember. Hillary Clinton's running against Donald Trump. We remember Hillary, right? She's still alive? All right, so Hillary Clinton running against Donald Trump. The whole frame that the Democrats decided to use in 2016 was that Donald Trump / MAGA was the person and party of hate, insensitivity, xenophobia, racism, misogyny, and they were just negative in every way. They're just negative, hateful, insensitive, non-human individuals. Wasn't that the frame that Hillary Clinton and Democrats used against Donald Trump in 2016? Or is my memory not serving me correctly? Is that the frame that they use? We're the party of love and togetherness and bringing people together. Barack Obama has continually said this over the last 10 years. And they're the party of hate, division, and everybody going against each other. And they're pulling people apart. We're bringing everybody together. Give me a yes or a no. Has that not been the frame of the Democratic Party for the last 10 years? I just want to make sure I'm talking about this from the right frame. If I got it wrong, somebody can let me know. For the last 10 years, the frame has been, we're the party of love and bringing everybody together in unity. They're the party of hate and division and not bringing people together, or whatever negative terms they want to put on. That's been their frame for 10 years. How the hell does somebody die and y'all just going to keep stepping on his grave? This is the party of love and hate and unity? Really? This is what y'all doing? Again, if I'm in the boardroom with the Democrats, this is what I'm putting this in front of their faces. For the last 10 years, Donald Trump's been the hateful, divisive person with the harmful rhetoric. Now, one of his biggest supporters that everybody knows gets shot in broad daylight in front of people on camera. And all y'all been doing for the last 12 days is bashing his legacy and spitting on his grave because you want to pull some of his quotes out of context. That's the party of love and hate and unity. I mean, love and togetherness and unity. Really? Barack Obama, I see you back there in the back. That's what y'all are doing? Really? This is ridiculous. They don't even realize how ridiculous they look right now. And this is the reason why they needed me to come in for this intervention to help them out. I don't know if it's going to work. Logic tends to not overpower it, never work against emotion. But this is the problem that they have right now. The Democrats need somebody with some logical sense to stand at the front of the room and tell them about themselves. I'm not sure they have anybody. This is the problem. Do they have anyone? I don't think so. All their biggest voices are all saying the same thing. Bernie Sanders, man, he ain't really talking about it. He's still trying to sell his book on oligarchy. He's trying to sell you a book on how oligarchy is going to hurt everybody. Imagine that. Barack Obama, I mean, he's lost his fastball. So who you got? AOC, Ilhan Omar, Jasmine Crockett. Who else you got? Nancy Pelosi. Who you got? They ain't got nobody. They don't have anybody on their side who can stand up and say, hey, let's have some common sense here. Now let's look at let's read the room. The room being the United States of America, the voters. Let's read the room. Is what we're doing working here? What the Democrats should have done. Here's what they should have done. They should have came out, let's say 48 hours after Charlie Kirk's death. Maybe immediately there were some reactions. Again, I give them grace for reacting. Human beings are reactive. After 48 hours, by Friday of last week or 2 weeks ago, they should have said, you know what? Even though Charlie Kirk was a staunch supporter of our biggest political opponent right now, that opponent being Donald Trump, even though Charlie Kirk was a Republican, even though Charlie Kirk was MAGA, even though Charlie Kirk was not a supporter of LGBTQ for his reasons, his religious reasons, even though he was against gay people and trans people and all this stuff, even though Charlie Kirk was a patriarch, even though Charlie Kirk was going around to colleges all around America and trying to convert people to vote for our staunch political enemy that all of you know about, despite all of that, let's remember that we are all Americans. Let's remember that we're all humans. Let's remember that we are the party, we, the Democrats, this is the Democrat statement. Let's remember that we are the party of bringing people together, unity and love. And there comes a time for us to duke it out verbally and politically and to try to get our point across and win elections. But this is not that time because somebody just lost their life. This man had a wife. This man had a young family. And being that we're the party of bringing people together, we want to make sure that everybody understands that there are things that are bigger than Democrat versus Republican. We're not going to play the rhetoric game. We're not going to play the pulling quotes out of context game. We're going to make sure that we stand on what we told you we are, which is the party of love and unity and bringing people together. And we stand right next to the Republicans right now and celebrating the life of a man who was doing what the Constitution allows us to do, which is practice free speech and argue our arguments out in the open public with the citizens and let the people decide. And we stand with Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. We send condolences to his family and his wife. And you know what? We would hope that President Trump would invite some of us to come to that funeral in Arizona as well, because we want to show that America and our citizens are bigger than our political disagreements. Why couldn't anybody in the Democratic Party just say that? I just came up with that out of nowhere. That's not a prepared statement. Nobody in the Democratic Party could say that. AOC couldn't come up with that. Jasmine Crockett, no, never mind. Ilhan Omar, Kamala Harris couldn't come up with that. No, actually, I'm answering my own question. No, none of them could have came up with that. Barack Obama could have said that. I think Barack could have said it. Bernie could have said it, maybe. Nancy Pelosi's she's past her prime. She's done. Hakeem Jeffries could have said it. Cory Booker could have said it. Maybe not Cory Booker. Hakeem Jeffries could have said it. Barack Obama could have said it. I think AOC has the capacity to say it. I don't think she has the mind to say it. She doesn't have, but she does have the capacity. Jasmine Crockett, no. Kamala Harris, no. Joe Biden, no. I don't know who else they got. But Barack could have said it. I mean, he's a voice of reason. He is somewhat of a voice of reason on their side. I mean, at least he can pretend to be. They didn't come out with this. And I'm talking the biggest voices, the most known, biggest voices in the Democratic Party. None of them said anything like this. They tripled down on the nonsense. And most importantly, let me say, is this most importantly? Yeah, I would say most importantly for the Democratic Party. They should have sent the message out to their influencers because their influencers have quadrupled down on the nonsense. This is where they're really losing because I decide what I'm going to talk about when I do these live streams based on what I'm seeing on social media. I don't watch news. I don't own the television. I look at social media and see what people are talking about, and that's where I figure I take the temperature based on that. And obviously, the temperature is reflected in the fact that y'all are paying attention. This is what people are talking about. They should have sent the message to their influencers and said, "No, we're not going to do the bashing Charlie Kirk game. We're not going to do that. We're going to come out and do what I just said. We're the party of bringing people together. We are the party of unity. We are the party of love. We are the party of respecting people despite our political differences. That's who we are as Democrats. All you influencers, all you paid influencers, don't go out there bashing Charlie Kirk. All right, this is what you're going to do. Here's the line. Here are the talking points that y'all going to put out there. We're not going to bash this man. We're not going to bash this guy's dead body. We're not doing that. And any of you do it, you're getting cut off from your influencer monthly payments. They could have did it. They didn't do it. They decided to go the other direction. And 2026 ain't that far away, everybody. That's why this is a problem. That's why this is a problem. Now, figures like women I already mentioned, Ilhan, AOC, they are solidifying their base, which is fine. For them personally, it's great. AOC is not going to get voted out of the House. Ilhan Omar is not getting voted out of the House. Jasmine Crockett might get voted out, but they're not getting voted out. They are solidifying their base, which is fine. The problem is you're on the team. You're on the Democratic team, AOC. Ilhan Omar, you're on the team of Democrats. Jasmine Crockett, you're on the Democratic team. And the team is, I come from a background of playing professional sports. I played basketball. When you play a team sport, it's cool if you put up great stats. But if you put up great stats and the team loses, now you can't brag about your stats. You can't say, well, I had 30 points, but the team lost. The objective of the game is to win the game. Sports is a competition. Competition is judged by a scoreboard, and you are judged by what happens on the scoreboard, not by the stat sheet. Scoreboard and stat sheet are two different things. Stat sheet is what you did personally. The scoreboard is what the team did. Are you playing for the team or are you playing for yourself? So these Democrats, yes, they're doing great things for themselves. AOC has further solidified her base. That's a fact. Jasmine Crockett, whatever base she has further solidified it. Ilhan Omar, same thing. So they've solidified their bases. They'll win at least the last two, AOC, Ilhan Omar. They will win their next elections. But what about the rest of the party? You already are losing. Is anything that AOC saying helping the Democratic Party? The answer is no, it's not. It's helping her. It's not helping the Democrats. This is another problem that they have. They're not on message. The team is not on message. LeBron James, let me bring him up, not as a Democrat, as a basketball player. LeBron James, when he went back to the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2014, they were in training camp. A lot of people don't know the story. They're in training camp practicing, and LeBron, in the middle of practice, he interrupts the coach and asks the coach if he can address the team. Coach says, sure. LeBron takes the whole team back in the locker room, and he goes around the room to every single player in the locker room. He points out every single guy. He tells each one of them what their role is going to be on the team. This is a player. Everybody knows LeBron James, right? He goes around the room. He tells every player, here's your role. Your role is this. Your role is this. Your role is this. Now, the reason that he did that, according to the story, I don't know if he ever talked about it, but my way of explaining why he did that was because he could tell in practice that there were conflicting agendas amongst the players on the team. Now, the players on the basketball team is only, let's say, 12 to 15 guys on the basketball team. Democratic Party is a couple hundred people. He could look at those 12 guys and say, there are conflicting agendas here. We can't win if we got different guys on different pages. We got to get everybody on the same page. He went around the room and put everybody on the same page. And that team, by the way, went all the way to the NBA Finals. Lost it that year. Next year, they won the championship. Why? Because somebody got clear. Here's the agenda. The agenda is this. And everyone was willing to listen to him because he had the cachet. He had just went to the finals 4 years straight in Miami, came back to Cleveland. Who's going to tell him anything? He's the best player in the league at that time. The Democratic Party needs somebody to do what LeBron did to the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2015. Again, I don't know who that person is. They don't have that person. That's why they would need to hire me so I can put all of them where they're supposed to be. They're all on different pages right now. So when they come up and they call themselves challenging conservative voices, again, you can't challenge a dead person. And it energizes their supporters who want pushback. The problem is base voters are not enough. The Democratic base voter is not enough. Again, was everybody alive on November 5th, 2024? Again, I would just keep asking that question. Now, critics argue that this approach alienates moderates and independents who want unity, condolence, and restraint after a tragedy. Have I not said this already? This is where they're losing. And you have to gamble. You got to read the room. I say reading the room, the Democrats are not reading it properly. They're misreading the room. That moderates and independents, these are the people who could vote either way, Democrat or Republican, or they could just not vote at all. If they're not excited, if they're not galvanized, they just won't vote. They'll just abstain from voting. For those who don't understand the voting process in America, as I already explained to you, there's a bunch of people who always vote, and half of them always vote Democrat, half of them always vote Republican. Elections don't come down to those people. Elections come down to the people who sometimes vote and who can vote either way. And 2024 shows you that the Republicans control the, if you want to call it a narrative, they won the headlines, and that's why they won the elections. President, House, Senate. 2026, president is not up for vote, but the House and the Senate are up for vote. The Democrats were on track to win at least one of those. Why? Because the Republicans in charge and people always bitch about the situation. But after this, they are putting that in jeopardy. And it might be 4 straight years of Republican everything. And if you're a Republican, I guess that'd be great. But if you're a Democrat, not so great. So when people see this rhetoric that looks insensitive, or his past means he shouldn't be, we don't have to feel contrition for him, or he somehow deserved it, this is not good. Now, every instance of a left-wing influencer trashing Charlie Kirk's name becomes content. And that content matters because people see that stuff. People see the content on social media more than they hear what AOC says on Capitol Hill, because most of you don't watch C-SPAN. Most of you are not watching these hearings. Kash Patel he was on Capitol Hill last week, and he did 2 days, and it's like 9 hours of material. I'm going to listen to it. I'm not going to watch it, but I'll listen to the stuff that was being said because I want to hear what was happening in those hearings. And all of it, a lot of it is performative, we know. But I want to listen to it. Most of you don't listen to that stuff. Y'all don't go and listen to the Senate confirmation hearings when Trump appoints people to his cabinet. I've listened to those things. Most people don't. Most people get their points from what's happening on social media. So these Democratic influencers who are bashing Charlie Kirk's name in death, all right, this matters because it's affecting people's thinking in, I don't think, good ways. But clearly the Democrats think that doubling down is going to work for them amongst their committed fans. Again, I will say for the 10th time here today, you don't have enough committed fans. Your committed fans didn't win your elections in 2024. You lost all 3. So your committed fans are not enough. You got to start converting people who are not committed. Does everybody understand what I'm saying here? The people who are not committed and are on the middle and can go either way, do you think, Democrats, that tripling down on bashing Charlie Kirk after he died is going to get unconverted people to come to your side? My theory is no, it is not. That's not going to work. And the media culture, obviously we know, it rewards outrage, amplifying attacks, and it often gains attention to outrage and attack and go at people and try to get slam dunks on people. And again, that is preaching to the choir. The problem is you got to get some more people to come into the church. Everybody's following my metaphor here. Now, the problem is outside of that base, amongst younger voters, suburban voters, even traditional Democrats, you're tearing down a dead person. Again, Charlie Kirk was pretty active when it came to the debates and talking and having back and forth conversations. Was Charlie Kirk invited onto any non-conservative platforms to debate with anybody who disagreed with him? I didn't see too much of it. I didn't see AOC talking directly to Charlie Kirk or Ilhan Omar or Jasmine Crockett or Kamala Harris or Barack Obama. I didn't see any of these people doing it. But now that he's dead, all of a sudden they all got something to say. Now all of a sudden they want to pull what he said out of context. Charlie Kirk was pretty available. He seemed like a pretty available guy as far as I could see. This is his full-time job. Talking, sharing MAGA points, and debating. That was what he did all day, every day. I didn't see any of them ever step up to talk to him then. Now that he's passed, all of a sudden you want to pull his quotes out of context and attack him. So number one, it looks cowardly. Number two, we know that people pull shit out of context these days. And number three, he's dead. So now you're just going to keep bashing him. And this can look like, or not it can look like, it looks like overreach that's actually going to go in the opposite direction. Again, is everybody alive in 2024? Donald Trump decides he's going to run for president again. He announces he's going to run in, let's say, January of 2024. So here we come with Tish James. Here we come with Alvin Bragg. Here we come with Fannie Rose. Here we come with Jack Smith. That's the alleged fraud case. That's the hush money case. That's the RICO case. And that's the documents case. All four of those cases put together were all designed to stop Donald Trump from being able to run. They were trying to take his name off the ballot, either bankrupt him or incarcerate him so he couldn't run for president. When all four of those failed, and it became so obvious that the average person, the average quote unquote uninformed voter could even see this. Even the uninformed voter could see that this was a coordinated plot to stop Donald Trump from being on the ballot. When it became that obvious, it became real obvious that he was going to win. It didn't matter if it was Biden or Kamala, he was going to win. Not because of his policies, not because of his economic plan, not because of the fact that he was going to deport illegal immigrants, not because of any of that. Because it looked like one side was trying to play the game unfairly and not have a fair fight. And what it did was it actually created sympathy for the guy who's supposed to be the leader of the hateful, insensitive, misogynistic, xenophobic group. Imagine that. The Democrats did such a poor job of their own strategy that they made the guy that's supposed to be the guy who hates and is misogynistic and xenophobic and racist, they made him the sympathetic figure in 2024. Did this happen? Give me a yes or no. Did that happen? Was Donald Trump a sympathetic figure by Election Day 2024? He became a sympathetic figure by Election Day because of all the shit the Democrats did. And yes, the shot that rang past his head in Butler, PA, that helped. That helped him. It would have hurt him had it hit him, but it helped him because it missed. Now, did the Democrats set that up? I don't think so. Will we ever know? It looks like we'll probably never know any more about what happened that day. But remember what politics is about, everybody. Optics. Politics is about optics. How does it look and how does it feel? Not what's true. Not the facts, not the truth. Politics is not about facts or truth. Even though politicians always talk about facts and truth, that nothing that they do is about facts or truth. They're all liars. Politics is about optics. How does it look and how does it feel? So just think about 2024, that shot in Butler, PA. Donald Trump has 4 cases against him. Fraud case, hush money case, RICO case, documents case. He got 4 cases against him. Democrats are saying he shouldn't be allowed to run. They're trying to cite something in the Constitution to wipe him off the ballot. They got all of their influencers, paid influencers, trashing him every single day and making it seem like there's no way that he can win and he shouldn't even be able to run. They're saying that Biden's going to wash him in the debate. Biden looks dead in the debate. They replace him with Kamala. Kamala has all these vibes, all of these things that they're doing to try to make Donald Trump ineligible to run and impossible for him to win. Then somebody shoots at him and damn near takes his life. That created sympathy for Donald Trump. And does that mean the Democrats did it? No. What I'm saying is when they had all that momentum trying to be negative against him, and then somebody shoots at him in the middle of all of that, it just feels like the Democrats had something to do with it, even though they may not have. Even though, let's say they didn't. It just feels like they had something to do with it. Does everybody get what I'm saying here? And this is what politics is about. It's about optics. How does it feel? How does it look? It doesn't matter if it's true. It does not matter if it's true. Facts don't matter, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you heard me correctly. I say this all the time. For those of you who are new, who never heard me say it before, I'll say it again. Facts don't matter. What is the fact of who that shooter was, why they did it, what they were influenced by, who made them do it? We don't know. And frankly, it doesn't really matter. We don't care. The optics of it is that it looked like more Democratic momentum trying to stop Donald Trump. They couldn't stop him in court. They couldn't stop him at the bank. So they tried to stop him with a bullet. That's what it looked like. Again, is that factually true? Doesn't matter. So this right here, this year, what happened with Charlie Kirk, it looks like and feels like the Democrats are so desensitized to anything negative they could say about the Republicans and or the value of human life. Let's remember what almost happened to Donald Trump last year actually happened to Charlie Kirk this year. It feels bad. It feels wrong. It feels insensitive. It feels inhumane. It feels like these people are so dug into their political position that they forgot that they're actual human beings and that the people you're trying to persuade are also human beings. And why does this matter? Because of November 5th, 2024, it was proven that this doesn't work. So here we are, less than a year later, and they're still digging in a hole that's already deep. That's why this is a bad idea. Sympathy tends to go to perceived victims regardless of politics. This is how sympathy works, everybody. Sympathy tends to go to the victim. That's how sympathy works. You don't feel sympathy for the winner. You feel sympathy for the victim, the person who's losing. That's who you feel sympathy for. Donald Trump this guy who's supposed to be hateful became a sympathetic figure in 2024 because of all the stuff going against him, that it went from him looking like this terrible dictator to looking like the victim. And he can thank the Democratic Party for that. He didn't do it. They did it. I mean, he helped. Let me not say he didn't. He helped. He kind of pushed it a little bit, but they had to do it in order for him to create sympathy. He had to come up. He needed a boogeyman to fight against, and they created the boogeyman in the form of Tish James, Alvin Bragg, Fannie Wilson, Jack Smith. They became the boogeyman. They helped him. And here we are 10 months later, they still haven't figured it out. Now, by opposing or voting against this resolution, this tribute resolution for Charlie Kirk, those people in the Democratic Party are signaling that they're not going to be pressured into unity and that they want to play the ideology card and they want to claim values. Okay, first of all, politicians don't have values, or their own values are whatever gets power, consolidates power for them. So those on the progressive side said they don't want to whitewash harmful speech. I say bullshit. We already know this is nonsense. When you don't support or condemn the murder of a person, that can be spun as cold, being disrespectful, or even complicit into enabling extremism. Again, is that actually true? Again, it does not matter. Facts don't matter. What matters is how it looks. Politics is all about how things look. If you look bad, you're in a bad position, even if factually you were doing the right thing. When they shot at Donald Trump and the Secret Service trying to cover him up and he stands up and yells, "Fight, fight, fight," that right there probably won him the election. Why? Because his opponents were the Democrats, and that bullet was a representative of the Democrats trying to stop him from talking. Even though, again, I'm not saying the Democrat did it. I'm not saying the Democrat put that kid up to it who did the shot. It looked like it, and that's all that matters. What it looks like is what matters, not what's true. So political enemies become martyrs when they're threatened without respect and death, when they're treated without respect and death. And that's what they did to Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk was close enough to the president, even though he wasn't even a politician, that this is going to rub off on Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And Donald Trump seems a pretty smart guy. He's going to leverage the hell out of this, by the way. He's going to leverage the hell out of this for the next year, which he should. And if the Republicans sweep 2026, any of you who don't like what the Republicans are doing now, okay, wait till then. Wait till the last 2 years of Trump's term. If you don't like what they're doing now, it's going to get worse, because if they sweep 2026, Tom Homan's going to have another battery in his back. That's the guy running that's the border czar. That's the guy getting the immigrants out of the country, illegals out of the country. Kristi Noem, that's going to get worse. If y'all think it's bad, it's going to get worse. If you think it's good, it's going to get better if they sweep 2026. Now, if the Democrats can get some power in 2026, they can kind of slow that down. They can't stop it, but they can slow it down. But if they don't, and Donald Trump, again, he seems a pretty shrewd guy. Now, if the Democrats calm down the rhetoric and show some moderation and some empathy, they can avoid long-term damage. I think that's what they need to do. I think right now they've gone so deep that it's hard for them to stop. I think they can't stop themselves right now. They got too much momentum going in the wrong way to stop themselves. Inertia is controlling them right now. And voters punish party overreach. And what's so crazy, if you all think about this, through the first 9 months of this year, the Democrats are doing an excellent job of framing the Republicans of overreaching. By what? The Donald Trump, first of all, Elon Musk coming into the government. That was number one. Number two was the Donald Trump tariffs and how that's going to make costs go up and hurt businesses. And number three was the ICE going into cities and pulling people out of their jobs and their houses to deport them. Those three things were all working against the Republicans through the first 9 months of this year. The Elon Musk Doge thing, whatever the hell he was doing. The second thing was the tariffs. And the third thing, even though people haven't really felt the effects of the tariffs yet. And the third thing was the, what was up? What did I just say? I forgot. Oh, Tom Homan. 1, 2, 3. Doge, tariffs, and immigration. Those three things are making the Republicans look unsympathetic. It was making them look less humane. It was making it look like, and with the help of the Democrats and their framing, that Donald Trump was just overreaching just because he had power. That's what it looked like. Is that true? Factually? Not really. I mean, he got elected. He's supposed to do what he wants to do. But is that how people were looking at it? Many people were looking at it that way, yes. And their Democratic influencers are doing a good job of continually hammering that message. Problem is, they just lost all of their momentum in a week. The Democrats, y'all listen, you lost all your momentum in a fucking week because your people don't know when to stop. You got to learn how to moderate your message when certain things happen. You can't just keep doing the same thing in a situation like this. If it was just politics, this would be a whole different ballgame. This is not just politics. This is life and death, literal life and death. This overreach is hurting them. Now, if instead they keep tripling down, amplifying every dig, every past controversy, refusing to acknowledge grief or show any form of decorum. I mean, these are politicians. Aren't these supposed to be the people that show us how to conduct ourselves? Aren't they supposed to be the exemplars of how to carry yourself as an American citizen? That's what they're supposed to be, right? Because we elect them. They work for us. Lest anybody forget, they work for us. They're supposed to be the exemplars to show us how to conduct ourselves as citizens. Look at what they're doing. I'm talking specifically about the Democrats right now. They don't want to show any grief, no decorum. What they are doing right now is they're energizing the MAGA base. That's what they're doing. They don't risk doing that. They are doing it. How do we know? 100,000 people at that funeral yesterday. That's what they did. Now, Charlie Kirk's wife is going to run TPUSA. Now, see, it's one thing you're bashing a man who came out and said some things, and you could say, well, he's a patriarch, and he's a white male, and he's a heterosexual white male, and you already got this negative frame against heterosexual white men in America. Now, what are you going to do when as a woman? You going to bash the woman? A single mom, widower with 2 young kids? You going to bash her? What you going to do now? Even though I was thinking that a man or men needed to step up and fill Charlie Kirk's space, I actually have to say, now looking at it and looking at the ability of Mrs. Kirk, that this is a great strategic move for MAGA. It's a great strategic move to put her at the front, especially if she comes out and she's actually good when it comes to speaking. If she's any good, Erica Kirk, the Democrats are in an even deeper hole than I thought. Because what are you going to do when it's her? You're going to bash the woman who saw her husband get shot in the neck in broad daylight, has 2 kids under the age of 5. Now she's coming out and speaking. You're going to bash her? How are you going to bash her? It's damn near impossible to bash Erica Kirk right now. This is actually a great move by the Republicans in TPUSA. I have to say. Last week I did a whole lot saying who replaces Charlie Kirk. Now, I didn't put his wife as a possible candidate. I hadn't really heard her talk. But if she's any good, the Democrats are in trouble. Even more trouble than what I've already laid out here. They're in real trouble. At least through 2028. Maybe you got a chance after Trump's out. But up until then, they got a problem. A big one. All that being said, everybody. And she forgave. Yes, just said that. And she said, I forgive the shooter. See, I thought the Democrats were supposed to be the party that did that. They couldn't forgive Charlie Kirk. He got shot. They couldn't forgive him for his harmful rhetoric when he was alive. She forgave the shooter in front of 100,000 people, not to mention how many millions watching online. And they're the party, the Democrats are supposed to be the party of unity, love, conciliation, bringing everybody together. But they're bashing this man who's dead while his wife. So her husband gets shot less than 2 weeks ago, has 2 young kids that she now has to raise as a single mom. Now she's stepping up. What are they going to say about her? Again, how are you going to spin that in a way that you don't look like a complete insensitive idiot trashing her? What are you going to do, Democrats? I'm just wondering, what y'all going to do? What are y'all going to do when she steps up to speak at a rally? What are you going to do? You can't bash her. You're going to look really bad. You can't attack her. She doesn't have any history. She doesn't have any track record to go at. What are you going to do? And she has all this attention and all this momentum and all this sympathy on her side because of who she is. What do you do? That one, even though the Democrats could hire me as a consultant, I don't have an answer for that question. That's kind of an unsolvable problem. The way they would solve that is if she never stepped up, but she stepped up. Problem, Democrats. I got a problem. All this said, everybody, let's get into the comments. I do need to take a restroom break because I just talked for an hour and a half here. So give me 90 seconds here, folks. And then we will get to the commentary. Moderators, remember, let the dissenters speak. We want to let the dissenters live. All right, they should be allowed to say what they want to say, even if they're wrong, because we got a soundboard for them. We got a soundboard for the dissenters, so we could use some of our favorite sounds, such as strawberry cheesecake. Strawberry cheesecake. One more time. Let me take a 90-second break for restroom. I'll be right back. Everybody sit tight, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back for the comments. Strawberry cheesecake. I'm back. Let's get to it. Carlina Brazil said, you'd be great at the intervention. Well, thank you. What do you think about it? I just did it now. And you said Democrats haven't learned anything. Actually, I would have to say you're right. They have not learned much from November of last year till now. But luckily for them, they got a year to figure it out. Because right now, they're in a very bad space with what they've been saying. So Art said, I'm looking on Instagram. It's so hard to believe these Democrats believe what they're saying. Well, they absolutely believe it. It's just, you can believe things and just not say them out loud. You can easily believe things and just stay quiet. Sasha Sims, good morning. So Art said they triple down not because they feel that way, but because they feel that's what their base wants to hear. Well, it is what their base wants to hear. The problem is their base is not big enough. They just lost 2024. All 3 groups that they needed to win, they lost all 3. So their base is not enough. And said Democrats went to show their respects yesterday. Yeah, some of them. Will Avila said Letterman looks like sensible for the. I think you mean Fetterman. Letterman's a TV show host. I think you mean Fetterman. Soul Art New York said, I wonder if they're mad at Van Jones for revealing that he received a DM from Charlie. Well, he tries to play like he's in the middle. He's not one of the most influential on that side. Will Avila said Fetterman. Yeah, it's Fetterman. You replaced it. Barack said something. Yeah, Barack will be good, but Barack's lost his fastball. He doesn't have as much influence as he used to. So R said, I love her voice, but looking at her, I thought she had a softer voice, but she speaks with so much command and authority. Yeah, she has looked very good for what we've seen so far. So over here on TikTok, I'm going from the oldest to the newest, folks. Heart B said, you have common sense. Bet you will be a good Republican. Well, thank you. I'm not on any side politically, but I appreciate it. DJ Donamite said, optics and perception matter. Like you said, people on social media are too easily influenced. Well, that influence goes both ways. The influence can lean people to the left. It can lean people to the right. Scott, thanks for the follow. Nate Cut said, you can't win 20% of the black Democrats. You can't win 20% of the black Democrats vote Republican. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Carl Kelly said, Trump is a choice of white supremacists. All right, so here we go. Strawberry cheesecake. So strawberry cheesecake, that sound there is for the straw man fallacy. That's the most common fallacy I see here, often seen in disagreement. When someone rephrases a point or perspective into something that it doesn't mean to make it easier to argue against. So Carl Kelly, 59, says, Trump is a choice of white supremacists. So what he's applying here is that anybody who votes for Donald Trump must be a white supremacist. The problem is, Carl, is that if half the country voted for Donald Trump, how do you explain that? Actually, is a better question. It's a question I'd ask you rhetorically. Half the country voted for Donald Trump. So is half the country white supremacists? Because that's what he got in the election. So it doesn't even add up, amongst many other things that's wrong with that point. Chesha Hale says, I wasn't paying attention to the Democrats. Well, I was. Ben Eggenberger, thanks for the follow. Kimberly Ann, good morning. The Vapor said, that did. Yes. Debbie Brown said, perception is one's reality. That's true. Kimberly Ann, good morning. Michelle, good morning. Leather and Pearl said, put power in the arena. Yes. Nadine said, hatred and greed won. Won what? What are you referring to? Karina said, they're even trying to make it seem like the stadium wasn't that packed. They're finished. Yeah, the stadium was pretty much full. Marina, thanks for the follow. Dana Pecom said, Dems did it. Yeah. Ben Eggenberger said, you're too smart to be a Democrat. Well, I'm not on any side politically. Greg said, people knew Kay Harris was not a good candidate. On top of the fact that Kay Harris wasn't a good candidate, they also made Trump a sympathetic figure. So it was a combustible combination for the Democrats in 2024. They weren't going to win no matter what, even if it was Biden. But after that debate, Biden was looking comatose. And yeah, that was pretty much it. What the Democrats should have done, I talked about this last year, they should have had a primary, even if it was a quick one, and chose a better candidate because Kamala Harris was not the best they had to offer last year. And it was their last chance, only chance to stop Donald Trump from getting back in office, and they failed. So it was a failure as a whole by the Democratic Party and the powers that be in the Democratic Party. What happened last year? They failed in every metric. They failed. Every aspect they missed. They fumbled that ball. Debbie Bowen said, Dems have no idea. Well, they might have some idea, but they need somebody to step up and actually say it to them. Yo MC said, those Democrats in power are possessed. They are doing Satan's work. Well, some said. I understand you. Hot Mess Mom said, protect Candace Owens. She is on to something. Well, Candace is always chasing down. She's chasing down theories. So we'll see what comes of what she's saying. I think people are trying to stop her from going deeper into it. That's what happens when you start chasing down something that people don't want to talk about. Kristen Shear Vaughn, thanks for the share. Dana Pecom said, I like what's being done. With what? Julia Savvy, thanks for the follow. The Vapor said, he is not in a political office. Who are you talking about? Sagamato said, I'm literally fine with everything Trump is doing except hiding them files. Well, he's not hiding them. We already know about them. If he was hiding them, you wouldn't know about it. And by the way, those files have been in there since even Biden was in office. They never put them out. Nobody cared about it until people tried to intimate that Donald Trump might be in the files, which I don't think, not in the way that people are intimating. I don't think he's in the files. Domas D. Diablo said, it's good to get better, you mean. Democrats is going good to get better, you mean. Democrats destroyed. Domas, I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. Chesha said, Republicans will win. Chesha is too early. I can't predict that yet. It's too early. Mac, thanks for the share. Traditional said they're digging so far deep. Yeah, they are. Greg said he worked under Obama, Tom Homan. That's fine. Right now he's working under Trump. And he said he's getting everybody out of there. Debbie said Tom Homan is the GOAT. He is fearless. Chesha said he's doing good to me. You talking about Homan? Big Dave said you were Tasha's boyfriend in Power. I think that's a TV show. I don't watch TV, so I don't know who that is, and I'm not an actor, so no. Dana said Dems are not good for the country. Well, one thing Dems do is they keep the Republicans honest, and one thing Republicans do, they keep the Democrats honest. So one good thing about having these two parties is that neither one of them can get comfortable. Nate said Holman got caught bribery. No, Holman got accused of bribery. He got accused of accepting a bribe, but there's no proof. People are saying that it got pushed away by the Trump administration. They just got rid of the story. Maybe they did, but you got to prove it. For me to believe that it happened, you got to prove it. I don't mean you personally, but whoever came out with that, they got to prove it. Traditional said, I don't know how they sleep at night. C. Finley said they are too full of themselves. Maybe. Primal Biker said, if Democrats win, they will kill the country, and that's what they want. Biden was proof. Well, it depends on what you mean by killing the country. See, some people see that as a good thing, and some see it as a bad thing. I didn't like it, so I get what you're saying. Saul R said, Candace needs to stop. I'm so annoyed at all her conspiracies. She needs more time off to calm down. Well, she did take time off. She took time off to have kids. She got like 4 of them. But her thing is, Candace Owens is an investigative journalist. That's what she's doing. I mean, she may not label herself that, but that's what she's doing, investigative journalism. And the reality is, without investigative journalists, a lot of stories that we get told, we would just accept without question. What people like Candace Owens do is that they take the accepted narratives and they say, wait a minute, are we so sure that this is the real story? Let me dive into this and find out, hey, why are you telling the story this way when I'm seeing this? Or what about this and what about that? Doesn't mean that she's always right, but it also doesn't mean that she's wrong. What people like Candace Owens do is the same thing that the Democrats and Republicans do to each other, is that they keep the news honest. And that's why she's necessary, because she keeps the news honest by questioning the narratives that are given out. Because if we just accepted everything that we were told, well, we'd be under totalitarianism from the government. It doesn't matter if it was Democrat or Republican, which some people think we're under that already. So that's the benefit, soul art, of somebody like Candace Owens, is that she questions narratives. And that's necessary because she does the digging to find out, or to ask whether something that we were told is actually true or not. Because most of us, everyday people, we're not going to do that digging. So that's why we need journalists. We need investigative journalists, because they dive into this stuff and find out what's really happening. Such as, is Kamala Harris actually black? All right, she dug into that last year, and she found some things out that brought a lot of things about Kamala Harris's background into question, which is necessary. Mark Gonzalez said, what are the key things the Republicans need to hone in on over the next year for the midterms? Just this one. This one we've been talking about here today. If they can just hold on to this energy, they don't need to do anything else. Cheshire said, ain't nobody thinking about no Democrats. Oh, sure they are. Half the country is. DJ Donamite said, Holman worked under 6 presidents since Reagan. Well, great. Mike Honcho said, U.S. blue collars are suffering to support immigration. That is very true. Greg said, Obama deported more people than anyone else. Yeah, we know. Queen Coco said, they have the most empathy. Why do they have so much passion for social injustice? Well, they claim to have the most empathy. That's the reason why I was framing it that way, because they look crazy right now, given the frame they've tried to establish. Karina said they wanted him to release the file so they can impeach him for releasing confidential info. Even if they impeach him, they can't win. They don't have enough votes. That's the problem with impeachment. You still got to get enough votes to impeach somebody, and to impeach, you got to get some Republicans to vote for removing him from office. Well, they can impeach him, but they can't remove him from office, because you got to get Republicans to vote for it, which is never going to happen. Nana Cat said, just give the left enough rope, they will keep hanging themselves. This is pretty much true. Sweet Pea said, is what we voted for. Also true. Nate Cut said, we need Abbott out too. Are you talking about Texas? Well, y'all had to vote for that. You live in Texas. Greg said they celebrate when conservatives was fired and censored. Yeah, they did. We're going to talk about that probably tomorrow. It might have been the topic for today, but I decided to talk about this. Tomorrow we may talk about this whole concept of the censorship and the cancel culture and the firing. Queen Coco said, how does he the right when he's a sitting felon president? Well, it depends on how he got the felony, Queen Coco. Do you know how he got the felony? They took what is normally a misdemeanor and they turned it into a felony just to go after Trump. They took something that normally would be past the statute of limitations, reopened it so that it wouldn't be past the statute of limitations, and they only used it against him. When stuff like that happens all the time, they only use it against him just to go after him. It was a political witch hunt using the legal system. So that's what it was. XTR said, Dems are the party of hate and violence. Some said. Hippie Chick said because they showed their true hateful selves. Oh, fair enough. Time Fran said they're brain dead. Connie Moore said, right, you got to read the room and learn when to zip it. Yes, and I think they're listening to their base, but they're not listening to the people in between, which is not a good idea. Lee, thank you for the heart. Manny, thanks for the follow. Primal Biker said Democrats run on race to keep people divided so they can create racial issues. That's facts. I'm trying to think, but I say that's a fact. Actually, I would have to agree with that. That's pretty much true. Democrats do leverage race a lot to keep the racial minorities, at least for now, plugged into the Democrats. That is true. Queen Coco said, why can the president make threats then? Well, any human being can make threats. The president can make threats. There's no law against making threats. Brandy Wine said, it looks like a cleanup of non-functioning departments in our government that really never needed. Yes, that's what I saw Doge as well. But people didn't like that because there are non-functioning departments that are still pulling in real green money. So that's the reason why they pushed back on Elon. OSO said Democrats lost their whole sense of reality. I agree. Federal court said Dem and power don't need Republicans to lose, just need division to keep power. They benefit from Republican policies, possibly. Stardust said AOC and Crocker should be held accountable. For what? YoMC said Democrats need to be exercised because they are possessed. Okay, I can't read every comment, everybody. I'm just reading the ones that I can get to. Dana Pecom said Erica is shrewd. And she seems like it. Jewel of the King said that was outside. That wasn't even inside 100K. What are you talking about? The event? Dave said the woman scorned at that. Yes, also true. Donna Marie said, I have a friend who's been a Democrat for 40 years. He told me last week, no more leaving the party. Okay. BHW said, when the communist gets elected in New York City, the Democratic Party will be a thing of the past. Yeah, I think he's going to get elected. I think he's going to win. Zoran Mamdani. We talked about him about a month or two ago. Greg said, Democrats can't define what a woman is. Well, they can, but they got to pretend like they can't, which is what Ketanji Brown Jackson did. But in one of her letters that she's written since she's been on the Supreme Court, she mentioned a woman, so clearly she knows what it is. Vicky Lynn said, thank God for President Trump and Erica Kirk. Fair enough. Game Night, thanks for the repost. Leather in Pearl says she's a fierce warrior. Abel F. Cano said, the Dems have no impulse control on emotions. They easily get dragged into losing issues for months. Well, what they're getting dragged into is pushing back against anything Trump does. So whatever Trump does, they go against it. They'll just do it. Veterans Benefits Consulting, thanks for the follow. Naycut said, who bashing, nobody bashing, nobody what? DJ Garrett, thanks for the follow. Shan says, being so strong. DJ Donamite, thank you for the share. Tiffany said they're already bashing her. Well, if they go too far, it's going to hurt them. That's their problem. Brandy Wine says, she has intelligence and political debating talent. She's going to be our next president. I wouldn't go that far just yet. Dakota, thanks for the follow. Joey Rodriguez, thank you for the share. Marky Man said, Democrats wish something bad would happen so they could riot and blame Trump for the turmoil. Well, they already do that. So they don't need to wish. They're doing that anyway. Sabrina, thanks for the follow. TX Trump Babe said, Erica is beautiful, strong, Christian woman. Yes, she is. Now, Naycut says, who are you, a Republican? No, I'm not a Republican nor a Democrat. Lori Banks Jam, thanks for the follow. Tiffany Watkins said they bashed her by saying she put on makeup and did her hair days after he was killed. It's gross. Well, they got to go further than that. That one I heard, but Tiffany, they got to keep going for it to become something that's useful. That one is, I heard that one, but I'm not talking like that. I'm talking they got to go like even harder. I don't think they have anything on her, so it's hard to bash her right now. That's the problem. Freedom Rider said they're already trying to bash her on social media. Yeah, they're trying, as all of you are saying. They're trying, but they don't really have any material. Lady Lioness said they will try to tear her down. She's going to rise like the sun. Yeah, once she starts giving actual speeches and she does her first event, then it'll be a different thing. Leheck said Erica Kirk will be a good speaker. Well, it seems like it. We'll see. She's going to run TP USA, so she's going to have to speak. Donna said they have no chance in 2028. J.D. Vance will take over as president. Oh, they have a chance, Donna. It's way too early. We're still 3 years away from 2028, so they absolutely have a chance. Hibby said, America needs Jesus to be healed. You're probably right. Debbie says, she said, you have no idea. Yeah, I heard that. Christy says, so he had harmful rhetoric. Who are you talking about? And why are you saying that? Random Board Mama, thanks for the follow. Karina said they had a full stadium and a packed out venue across the street. Yeah, so there's a lot of people there. And that's not even counting online. Millions watch that event. And millions are plugged into what's happening, even if they didn't watch it. Sandra Washington Santos said crimes are committed by individuals, not entire groups. This is true. Greg said Democrats, I think, don't care or have empathy anymore. Well, I wouldn't say the whole group, but there are some. Shan B, thanks for the follow. Pack and Easy, thank you for the follow. Brandy Wine says she already proved she has beat strength beyond Thor. All right. Renee said, brilliant move for TP USA appointing Erica. Also, America was built on biblical principles. Fair enough. Carrie says she is more conservative than he is. Yeah, I've heard him say that. I heard him say it when he was alive. Melody and Deborah, thank you for the follows. Sharon said, you hate Democrat. You're a biased person. I don't hate the Democrats. I'm just giving you my perspective, Sharon. But if you disagree with something that I said, tell me what you disagree with. Renee, thanks for the follow. And that's actually, it's a straw man what you just did there. So I'll give you this. Strawberry cheesecake. Mike said they waste too much time bashing Trump instead of working for us. Well, that's their frame. The thing is, the Democrats consider themselves working for us by bashing Trump. So that's where they're messing up right now. That's the issue. Donna said they won't honor a God-fearing man, yet George Floyd was their hero. Yeah, sounds crazy. Now, I wouldn't say he was their hero, but people, it was performative. I mean, the whole George Floyd thing was performative. People really care about George Floyd? No, not until he was a dead body. Rory H., thanks for the follow. Amber said, Dre, I just discovered you a week ago. I appreciate how you approach things with reason. Well, thank you. Amber ascends. Chrissy 315 said, radical Democrats destroyed our country over 5 years ago. Well, the country's still here. I wouldn't say they destroyed it. I think they were sending in the wrong direction. I didn't like what they did with immigration. And that's why Tom Homan is in trying to undo what they did. Pre-creation, thanks for the share. Yo, MC, I lost my spot. I think we might get through all the comments here today. Maybe not. Let me not speak too soon. Sometimes I think I'm all the way through the comments, and then I realize that I'm not as far as I thought I was. We might get through it. Yo, MC said, Democrats in power are possessed. You already read that one. Time Fran says, started when Pelosi ripped up the State of the Union. I don't think it started there. I think it started 70 years ago, but it's just gotten worse. KB York, thanks for the follow. Mama Micah Lynn said the behavior of the Democrats made me go completely conservative. All right, fair enough. Red, white, blueberries. A couple of you posted that. Donna Marie said, trust me, Barack Obama has zero voice now. Blacks don't even like him. Well, he still has some voice. He don't have his fastball anymore. He's on the other side of the hill. Karina said they're turning on Van. I was never a big fan of Van Jones. He seems contrived to me. OSO, thanks for the follow. Mike Hanso said, I don't care about Trump. What are you going to do for me? What does that even mean? Patricia Henderson, Time Fran, Jay Rivera, thanks for the follows. Yo MC said, I believe Erica Kirk will later on be our first female president. So a couple of you said that. I think it's too early. We got to let her talk a lot before you decide, because anybody can come in hot early, but we got to hear her talk for a while. Debbie said, Trump won popular vote in every swing state. Yeah, and he won the states in general. So, I mean, 2024 was a loud and clear message. Carly, thanks for the follow. Brittany, thank you for the follow. Tamika said they did not. What are you referring to? Jay Rocker said Trump won because of the people who didn't vote. Well, Kamala lost because of people who didn't vote, Jay Rocker. I mean, and he won from the people who did vote, because the votes that actually came in, Jay Rocker, the majority of them were for Trump. Is this not true?
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Cart, thanks for the follow. Lane Lioness said American supremacists. That's a good one. I like that. American supremacists. That one I am. Lily, thanks for the follow. Jen X, thanks for the follow. Chrissy said, no, he's not telling the truth. Who are you talking about? Jess Maka, thank you for the follow. TX Trump Babe said, Dems hate Trump because the media tells them to. Or the media hates Trump because Dems tell them to. It could be both. It's probably going in both directions. Brooke Martella Lomanaco, thanks for the follow. Run Wild Engraving, thanks for the follow. Nicole said they had an overflow section. Yeah, and again, that's not even counting TV. Chrissy said you should be a Republican. At least you have proper thinking and decorum. Well, Chrissy, I appreciate the compliment. What do you mean by proper, though? I think proper just means you agree with what I'm saying. If I was saying the opposite with the same style, you probably wouldn't be complimenting it. But I get what you're saying. Thank you. My Micah said Dems' behavior maybe go completely conservative. Understood. Yo MC said Democrats are read that one. ZJ Zender said you're a Republican by default because you have common sense. That's funny. I gotta find a laughing one.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Greg said yes, should have primaries to get better candidate. Yeah, they should have did that. I think they would have ended up with. I think a bunch of people just didn't want to go against Trump. They just figured, let me just wait till 2028 when I'm going against somebody who ain't Trump. Trump had a lot of momentum. Chrissy said, why don't you run? Run for what? I'm going to run tomorrow morning when I go outside and run a couple miles, but run for political office? Probably not. Furu the Guru said, I flipped red in 2020 after seeing the smear campaign CNN was trying to spring on Trump. What took you that long? If a smear campaign got you to go red, then that means you should have did it in 2016. Why'd you wait till 2020? Rating Lioness, thanks for the follow. Wifey Tip said, I went and couldn't get in the stadium. You couldn't get in, you got there. Wifey Tips, you probably should have got there like 5 hours before it started. Mike Hanso said, I don't care what's in the files. I care about what's in my bank account. Me too. Donna Marie said, Dems' only platform is hate, destruction, they're destroying people, hateful. But they got some other things. I think they just forgot about them right now. Casey said, if it was in the files, Biden would have released it. Of course he would have, because then that would have stopped Trump more than any of those court cases would have. Nate Cutt said, Trump ran on releasing the files. No, he mentioned releasing the files as part of his campaign, but his biggest thing when he ran in 2024 was, number one, the economy, number two, immigration. His main things were economy and immigration. The Epstein files was mentioned, but was that the main thing? No, because most Americans don't care, as we can see. Jay Rocker said, Republicans ran on releasing the files. Don't matter if Dems had them, release them now. No, that's not true. It's a straw man. He didn't run on that. He ran on, as I just said, the economy and immigration. His biggest things are the two things that affect the most people. And the Epstein files don't affect anybody directly. The majority of us directly, 99% of people, is why even now, 10 months into his newest administration, who really cares? Nobody really cares about the Epstein files. Greg said, Democrats are using the files for political reasons. Well, everybody's using them for political reasons. Clark said, how do we reunite the country? We probably need some other country to attack us from the outside. That will reunite the country, like 9/11. But other than that, good luck. Stardust said the Democrats have 4 years to frame Trump with Epstein. They would have Trump is not guilty. Well, he hasn't even been charged, so he doesn't even have to be not guilty. They got to bring a charge, and they have to bring some proof. They have neither one. Monica Meacham, thanks for the follow. Lacey, thank you for the follow. Gloria McCarter said, conservative politicians are accused of hate and violence, yet no cities burned. Fair point. C. Finley said, Dems do whatever gets them the pat on the back, whatever the narrative is, they are followers, not leaders. Okay, fair enough. Greg said, Democrats want to turn us over to United Nations. That, I would have to say, you're right. You're right about that. The Democratic Party seems to be more about globalism than they are about nationalism, which is a big difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. And as an American citizen, I am in favor of nationalism, not globalism. I got a passport. I got more than one passport, and I've been to a lot of countries. But the bottom line is America. America first. It's not about other countries. It's not about immigrants who don't have proper documentation. The number one priority for America is America. And Democrats seem to be focused on other countries outside of America, which is not good as far as I'm concerned. Debbie Bowen said, you are brilliant. Thank you. I agree. Connie Morris said, we always have to question because that's the only way the truth will come out. This is correct. That's the reason why I defend Candace, because even though she chases down stories that may end up not being stories, I mean, that's part of being a journalist, is that sometimes you chase things down and it turns out that there's nothing there. But if you don't chase it down and there is something there, then nobody will ever know. So the job of the journalist is to ask the questions that nobody else is asking. which some people don't like it because, again, you're taking the neat packaged up story that everybody has already accepted and saying, wait a minute, that might not be true. So it's necessary. We need investigative journalists, folks. So don't be mad at a journalist asking questions. You should be happy that journalists ask questions. Dees said, I love Candace for that reason. Jay Rocker said, Candace is investigating that Tiger didn't do it, which would take point from right. Well, that not that he didn't do it one way, Jay Rocker, but also that he was put up to it by somebody else, that maybe he didn't act alone. That's really what she's questioning, is did he act alone or did he do it himself? Because his DNA has already been found on the weapon and the weapon matches the bullet. So I think we have pretty much agreed that he did it. It's just a matter of, did he do it by himself or was he working in conjunction with other people? Was he just some random rogue citizen who just decided to bring a gun and shoot somebody? Or were other people involved in the process besides just him as the shooter? Nicole Barney, thanks for the follow. Ball Too Hard said, neither one can be comfortable. I like that. Yes, that's one good thing about Democrat, Republican is that they balance each other out. Now, the bad thing is that we only got two of them. Greg said, they never said Kay Harris is black until she was running for president. Pretty much, that's correct. Well, actually, no. When Joe Biden anointed her as VP, that's when they start saying it. Freckles, thank you for the share. Deborah said, what about Michael Obama? April, thanks for the follow. TX Trump Babe says 6 judges won't release them. Listen to Cass Senate hearing. He explains that. They're not releasing it because a lot of names of victims in there, and the victims don't want to be re-traumatized by releasing those files. Laura Maressa, thanks for the follow. Donna said, Kamala never said she was black until she came to convenience. Well, never claimed, Donna. Let's change that. Accepting to claimed she was black. We don't know if she's actually, I don't believe that she is. But again, Candace dove into that pretty deeply last year, so y'all can go look that up. I did a live on it as well. Y'all can find it on my YouTube. Jimmy Lott said, Democrats want to give the country away. Someone said self-preservation is the first sign of sanity. Okay, fair enough. Nicole said, if Trump can't release them, the courts had the files. FBI will be breaking the law if they did. Those files ain't coming up. Debbie Bowen, I start at 8 a.m. Eastern. I usually go to 10 a.m. I may go a little bit long today because I went long on my monologue. So I may go a little bit overtime here today, folks, about 10 more minutes. So we're at 9:58, so I might go to about 10 after 10 just to get through a few more. Greg said political witch hunt on 34 counts, felon charges was correct, sir. Yeah, of course it was a political witch hunt. Again, they turned misdemeanors into felonies, and they dug up something to charge him with that normally doesn't even get charged at all, let alone a felony. They made that up out of nowhere. That's why it didn't work. Muscle Love Dogs, thanks for the follow. TX said, someone said Candace is back on the board at TPUSA. Not that I've heard. Last I heard Candace's show on Friday, she is not on the board at TPUSA. But she's independent. Why would she want to be on the board at TPUSA? I think Candace is doing her thing as an independent, not connected to anybody. She got fired from the Daily Wire, and she got 10 times bigger. So I want her to keep doing what she's doing by herself. Traditional said they had about 40,000 outside. Oh, is that what is true? Okay. Federal court said, do you think Dem CK response will affect NJ governor race? Well, federal court, I'm not even from Jersey. I don't even know who's running in Jersey for the governor race. So I can't answer that question. User said, what are your thoughts on Candace's theories thus far? I think she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, which is investigative journalism. She's still investigating, so I don't really have thoughts on it. I appreciate the fact that she's looking into it and doing the work that I personally wouldn't do and that most of us wouldn't do. That's why we need journalists, because they're doing the work of asking questions that most of us would never ask. That's why journalism exists. It's not so that we agree with them, is that so they can dig into stuff that most of us would just look at and accept on the surface. So we need journalists, folks. So never be mad at journalists for doing their job. Kelly P. and Icy Hot, thanks for the follows. Keith Pierce, thanks for the follow. Gloria McCarter said the bashing in the comments during a live event were horrendous. Well, I'm sure. But it's social media, so we can't get too excited about over random, nameless, faceless people, what they say on social media. People say stuff, ridiculous stuff on social media just to get attention. We all know that this is true. Brooke Martella, thanks for the follow. Deborah, thank you for the follow. Donna Marie said, they go too far is going to hurt them. They're already in level 10 pain, never dims. Well, people have short memories, Donna. That's the reason. That's the reason why the Republicans had to take this momentum into next year. There's a whole another year before the elections. The midterm elections, that is. Nanny D, thanks for the follow. Cynthia Rivera said, me either. I'm not dim or rep. Fair enough. Murphy the Mutt said, "You not being Democrat or Republican is what makes you so good." Thanks. Well, thank you. Character Creations, thank you for the share. Karina said, "Vance and Rubio." That's what it's looking like right now, but it's early. It's early. Connie Moore said, "You got to remember how we would feel if that happened to our husband or wife." Yes, exactly. That's a good point. Connie said, "I can tell you I'd be pretty mad." Yeah, who wouldn't be mad if their husband or wife got shot in broad daylight and there's a bunch of people talking bad about them after they died? I think everybody would be pretty mad. All right, I'll take a few more comments, folks. Then we will wrap this up. I can't get to everybody's comment. Dana said, "You giving facts, people bashing you about hating Dems, typical." Well, it's okay. It's okay. It's the reason why we have. It's the reason why we have comment section. If there wasn't a comment section, social media wouldn't be social media. So we got to take the good with the bad, folks. WFHM Pod Business. Follow me. Thank you for the follow. Karina said they tried to make the Salvadorian dude their next George Floyd. I don't even know who that is. Lacey said, "I'm not happy with immigration either. But I don't mind immigration as long as people got to go through the paperwork process. I know it's a tedious process for those of you who have gone through it, but you can't just let people in the country and let them become citizens without going through the documentation process. No other country will let us go there and do it. So why do we let people come here and do it? And because we have laws on the books. And the law says you got to go through the paperwork process." Samantha said, "Why do we need to make it about race?" Make what about race? Greg said, "They used Mr. Floyd's death for political purposes, and that's sad." No, of course they did. Well, it was an opportunity. You got to understand, the game of politics is optics. So George Floyd's death was a great optics play for the Democratic Party. Filthy Mind said, "I caught your interview on Hoop getting robbed in Mexico by the cops and getting a ride back." Oh, yeah. You saw that interview? I don't know what platform you saw it on, but yes, that did happen. Christy said, "Veterans losing benefits, farmers losing their farms, seniors losing their Social Security." Now, well, Christy, that stuff happens no matter who the president is. Is this not true? Kayla said, "Question, what is your point on Muslims taking over the U.S.?" Oh, Kayla, who said that I thought Muslims were taking over the U.S.? What you're asking me is a loaded question.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So I can't answer that, Kayla. You just asked me a loaded question. Your question has an assumption built into it, which is that Muslims are taking over the United States. Now, I know that there are more Muslims in America, but one thing I will say, Kayla, first of all, is that the First Amendment was created to give people protection for practicing whatever religion you wanted. Now, how many Muslims are coming in? Are they taking over? Those are two questions that I can't quite answer. You had to give me context as to why you believe that. But it's not on my radar, so I can't answer that question. On top of the fact, it's a loaded question. Greg said, "It's a crime to tear up the State of the Union. Nancy should have been prosecuted." Okay, I don't know if that's true or not, but okay. Singh Rasasek, thank you for the follow. They said, "Abbott and Cruz sabotaged the immigration process." In a good way or a bad way? Immigration process, what do you mean by that, the immigration process? Because the process is documented in the law. So Abbott and Cruz can't do that. Greg said, "Media is propaganda for the left." Sometimes it is. Definitely was during 2020. Pre said, "No, you spoke well. I don't care what party you're from. You spoke very, very well. You explained well. Thank you." XDR said, "Dre, would you work for the Dems?" I just gave y'all, I told y'all what I would tell them as a consultant. If they hire me as a consultant, I would go in not as an employee of the Democrats, but I would go in and tell them, y'all are fucking up, and here's how you're messing up. This is how you fix it. I would tell them how to fix their own problem, which I do right here on these live streams. And they do need to fix this problem if they want to compete in 2026. Because right now, it's not looking good for them. Lisa said, "Haha, going to run outside." Sean and McD, yes. Murphy said, "I vote for the office you would run for." Well, I appreciate it. The thing is, there's a whole lot of messiness in politics I wouldn't want to get involved in. Karina said, "I watched every rally he ran on MLK and JFK." Who are you talking about? Pre said, "Those files are not going to change my everyday life." They're not going to change anybody's life, and I don't think they're coming out anyway. Lee said, "Why do people hate Elon Musk?" Well, for several reasons. Number one, he stood next to Donald Trump. Number two, he helped Trump get elected. Number three, he has a whole bunch of money, reportedly, and a lot of people don't have nearly as much as he has. And one common frame in life is that when someone has a whole lot more than what you have or something, get mad at them rather than asking yourself how they get it. So Elon just represents a whole bunch of archetypes of things that people don't like. They don't like MAGA. They don't like Donald Trump, and they don't like people who have a whole lot of a resource that they want more of, such as money. When you're publicly noted for having a whole bunch of money, you're going to get a bunch of people who hate you just because you have the money, regardless of how you got it. T. Lee, thanks for the follow. Your mom said a Democrat who gets it America first. Well, I'm not a Democrat, so I don't know if you're talking about me. Jay Rocker said Trump isn't all about Americans, just the ones who kneel to him. Jay Rocker, that's a straw man. Come on.
Strawberry cheesecake.
What I find is that you all's straw man arguments get weaker and weaker as I go deeper and deeper into the comments. Who kneels to Donald Trump? I don't think anybody kneels to him. He has supporters. He has voters, which is completely fine. I mean, you didn't say anybody was kneeling to Obama. He had voters. So what do you mean by kneeling to him? You're using that as a pejorative to make it seem like the people who support him somehow don't think for themselves. But then when you vote for whoever you vote for, Jay Rocker, that's just because you're just thinking for yourself, right? But when somebody votes for Trump, they're kneeling to him. What's the difference between who you choose and who they choose? Besides the fact that you like one of them and you don't like the other one. Lizzie, thanks for the follow. Jazzy said, love you, sir. God loves us. Thank you. User 734 said, do you think the shooter, Tyler, the shooter of Kirk, do I think he acted alone? I don't know. I have enough information. Again, I gotta wait to hear what Candace Owens has found out, because she's doing a lot more work on that than I am. April said, if Erica is okay with Candace, so am I. Well, Erica, I think, should be okay with Candace. Her and Charlie were very good friends. Your mom, thanks for the follow. Mama Dukes, thanks for the follow. And someone said he was just a random. T. Lee said he was just a random. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Smash Man, thanks for the follow. Echo, thanks for the follow. Jay Rocker said, you're from Philly, go Birds. Yeah, I saw the Eagles came back yesterday. I thought they were about to lose. I saw the score. They were down. And then I saw the score again. They won. So good job by the Eagles winning that game yesterday. Jazzy 1, you're welcome. Latoya loves beauty. Thanks for the follow. Karina said the Maryland dad. Yeah, the Maryland man. Jay Rocker said Trump killed the bipartisan border bill. Jay Rocker, you came back with more nonsense. The bipartisan border bill didn't exist until Kamala Harris realized that the Democrats were about to lose the election based on immigration. And then they came up with a quote-unquote bipartisan border bill, which was too little, too late. How you come up with a border bill in 2024 when the border's been wide open since 2021? It didn't add up. Again, people can see through the bullshit these days. They could have pulled that off in 1987. Can't pull it off now. People can look this stuff up and see the nonsense. People can see through the nonsense these days. You can't lie to people. Kayla says, sorry for the loaded question. I can't type it all out. No, I get it. You don't have to apologize for a loaded question. You actually, it's good when you give us the loaded question, because then we can use our sounds. That's the loaded question sound I forgot to use. But I just like pointing out logical fallacies. Lorraine said, I agree with J Rock. On which point? About the Eagles or about this logical fallacy he threw out there? Depends on which one you're agreeing with. Save, thanks for the follow. J Rock said, I was being tongue-in-cheek. The kneeling comment meant no offense. I'm not offended. I'm just putting the frame out there because what you said, actually, a lot of people believe. A lot of people say stuff like that. I'm like, oh, well, Trump only likes the people who kneel to him. But then when you vote for, not you personally, but you vote for Kamala or Biden, are you kneeling? What's the difference? Katie, thanks for the follow. Debbie Bowen, thanks for the heart. Myra Lisa follower, what is that? Chris Gomez, you are right, thank you. Lorraine said Obama didn't spew hate, Trump does. How so? What did Trump say that was hateful? Lorraine, tell me one thing Donald Trump said that was hateful. I'll give you a chance to answer that. Shauna McD, good morning. Dana said, not 1987. Heck said Trump didn't need a bill to close the border. Good point. I've got to give you a clap for that one. Nicole Marie said, go read it. As it should have, it would still allow 4,000 illegal crossers a day and a bunch of pork. Well, there's nothing to read. Don't need to read it. The fact that they even came out with it, at the time they came out with it, was all a political theater move because they knew they were about to lose the election on the basis of the immigration. There was only 2 points the election was about, economy and immigration. And Biden administration looked bad on both. And they try to come up with a bill to make it look like they're trying to fix things when people are like, wait a minute, y'all been in office since 2021. Now it's 2024. All of a sudden you trying to close the border? That makes no sense. All you got to do is throw out some executive orders to just enforce the laws. So you don't need a bill. Just enforce the law. If you just enforce the law, then what was happening at the border wouldn't be happening. And American voters were smart enough to not fall for the nonsense. So Kamala even pushing that just showed you her incompetence as a communicator. She's just not a very good communicator, which is why she's not going to be the nominee in 2028. She's just not very good. So as I said, it was a mistake by the Democratic Party all across the board what they did in 2024. They messed up every possible way they can mess up. They mess up. Jay Rocker said Trump literally say he hates his opponents on national TV. When did he say that? Jay Rocker. See, now people start throwing out things that he said and then don't tell us when he said it. Give me an exact quote what he said. Filthy Mind Game said Trump turned off the open sign that Biden had on the U.S. No, all Trump did was, I get what you're saying. What he did was enforce the law. That's what he did. He enforced the law. There's a law that says how we handle things at the border. All Joe Biden did was relax the law, relax the enforcement of the law. Excuse me. All Donald Trump did was enforce the law. So Trump didn't even do anything. He just said enforce the law. All right, what's the law at the border? Okay, do that. That's all he did. And people are acting like he's doing something hateful. He just enforced the damn law. Mama Duke said, people who take time to be critical thinkers see through the BS. And even that, Mama Dukes, you only have to be a critical thinker now because social media can suss things out for you. You only have to think. You just follow some people who are smart enough to do the thinking and tell you what's going on. Brenna, thanks for the follow. A couple more comments, folks, then we'll be done. Shauna McD said, Kamala is a joke. I would have to agree. She's not a good communicator. That's the problem. Filthy Mind Game said for illegal entry. Yes, just for the border, period. I mean, there are laws for you can enter the country at the border. You just got to do things the right way. The Biden administration just said you could just enter no matter what. And Trump just stopped that. That's all he did. He didn't do anything new. And he said it last night during his speech. What exactly did he say? Give me the exact quote of what he said. Let me see if I can look it up. So a couple of you saying that Trump said he hates half the country. Let's get the exact quote because y'all are framing this that he just came out and said he just hates people he just hates them. Let's get the exact quote so we can see if y'all saying some. All right, let's see. Here it is.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent. Charlie's angry. Look at that. He's angry at me now. He wasn't interested in demonizing anyone. He was interested in persuading everyone to the ideas and principles he believed were good, right, and true. Before each appearance, he prayed these words: God, use me for your will. Always said the same thing. Use me for your will.
Okay, so that's the quote of Donald Trump saying, I hate my opponent. I don't want the best for them. So, of course, a bunch of people are pulling that out of context and saying, oh, Donald Trump just hates his opponent. He doesn't want the best for them. Do we really need to do this? Like, really? Those of you in the comments, do we really need to do this? Really? Yes, Donald Trump said that. And in context, if you look at how he said it and the way he said it and the context in which he said it, we can see that he's being tongue-in-cheek. We can see he's being hyperbolic. Do we really need to do this? Really? All of you? Y'all watch enough of these lies. Do we really need to do this? Come on. Cut it out.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
We know that he's being tongue-in-cheek. You can even see it in the way that he said it. You can see that he actually laughed. Y'all heard the audio. He laughed after he said it. Y'all know that Donald Trump's hyperbolic, and that's the way he talks. Cut it out. Cut it out, folks. Y'all really going to come with this? And that one is going to be going around social media for the next week. People are going to be using that for the next year. Oh, I hate my opponents. I don't want the best for them. People are going to use that about Donald Trump. When Donald Trump passes away at his funeral, people are going to be saying that. Oh, he said, I hate my opponents. I don't want the best for them. Really? Okay. All right. So I gave y'all that one. That's what he said. All right. Let's see. Debbie Bowen said, love your content. I'm a fan. Thank you. All right. Let me see if I got anybody. I saw a bunch of you saying the same thing. Jay Rocker said, why isn't Trump trying to make it easier for immigrants to enter? He doesn't have to do that. We got laws in place for that, Jay Rocker. We have laws. All right, those are done by Congress, not by Trump. Trump is the president. Congress is the House of Representatives and the Senate. Those are the people you vote for. They're the ones who decide how immigrants can enter or not enter, not the president. All the president said was enforce the laws. If you don't like it, you want it to be easier for immigrants to enter, then you need to vote for different representatives to make different laws. But that's not a Trump thing. That's a Congress thing. Latoya Loves Beauty said, you're an excellent communicator. I like the balance you have in discussing these topics. Thank you. Jay Rocker said, why do we always have to explain the context? Because people pull things that he says out of context and try to make it seem like he's saying something that he didn't say, like what you just did.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Sophie the cat said, so petty, yes. That's the reason why we got to explain the context, because people pull things out of context. When you pull something out of context, you can make anybody look crazy or sound crazy. That's a logical fallacy. It's actually a word for it. It's called contextomy. Contextomy is when you take something that somebody said out of context, and then you represent the out of context statement as if that's all they said to try to make it look different than what they were actually saying. And that's exactly what a bunch of you are doing by trying to say, well, he said he hates his enemies.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Mama Duke says, not like Biden didn't call Trump supporters garbage. Yes, he did. And then he tried to clear it up by saying he was only talking about the supporters of the comedian, when it sounded like he was talking about Trump. And he wasn't being tongue-in-cheek. He was just talking. Joe Biden is not Donald Trump in terms of personality. And yeah, that one worked. That didn't help them in 2024. Amber said, I hate some people. It's the way it is. I don't want the best of people I hate either. No joke. I get what you're saying, Amber, but that's not what Trump was trying to say. That was not the angle at which he was using it. Freedom Rider says he's telling you what the media is going to say that he said that. Yeah, and the thing is, Trump doesn't care. That's the thing with Donald Trump. He doesn't care about that stuff. Stedman said he said it, though. That's crazy as a president. Not really. In context, Stedman, no, it's not crazy. In context, it's not crazy if you hear it in context. Now, if you just see the quote and don't look into the context, which in 2025, none of you should be doing. None of you should be listening to a quote and taking that as the whole truth without finding out the context these days, because nowadays people take everything out of context and make it sound crazy. And said context is what critical thinkers use to find the truth. That's a fair point. Sammy Girl, thanks for the share. A couple more comments, folks, then we'll wrap this up in 2 minutes. Chrissy said he meant it, and you know it. If it's in you, it will come out of you. Chrissy, cut it out.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Amanda Skoll said, love your content. Thank you. Carter 704, thanks for the follow. Carrie said, make up their own narrative. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they took that out of context. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows what he was doing there. All of you trying to make it seem like he was saying he hates people just because he hates them. Y'all know better. I'm entertaining you, but all of you know better. Sloopy said he doesn't care. The most thin-skinned president in history who has full temper tantrum doesn't care about what they say. LOL. Okay, so this is a straw man as well, and you're using the appeal to ridicule. Actually, is what you're doing here.
Oh, I like your funny words, Magic Man.
People keep saying he has full temper tantrums and he's a thin-skinned president. Well, he's so thin-skinned and has so many temper tantrums that he's won 2 elections and 3 nominations. So, I mean, obviously being thin-skinned and having temper tantrums works on some level, for him at least. User said Trump's a competitive, shrewd businessman. It's his way of competing to win. Yeah, pretty much. Stedman said, I get it, though. I hate my opponents as well. I don't hate my opponents. I get what he was. Again, I get how you can on some level, but not like a personal, like really deeply hate. And even if he does, that's not what he was communicating in that clip. So again, I see some of you are trying. I give you credit for trying. Jay Rocket said he's literally trying to make it against the law to criticize him. Jay Rocket, I think you're just trying to get me to read your comments at this point. I get it.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Filthy Mind Game said, what's the topic for tomorrow? I always decide the day of, so it depends on what happens today. So today's topic I didn't decide till this morning. Sometimes I got an idea in mind, but it depends. We will get around to talking about the Jimmy Kimmel thing a little bit more. I do want to talk about that more, but not yet. Alva Edwards, thanks for the follow. I'll tell you all. Sloopy said they're never going to pick you. You're never going to be one of them. Who is they? Who are you referring to?
Is that like a personal attack or something?
So you get my free copy of my book, The Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. This book is all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. This is my most popular book with professional audiences. You can get this book by going to thirddaybook.com or just text the number. Let me make sure I got that right. You text the number 123. Text the number 3 to, yes. Text the number 3. Let me make sure. Make sure I got it set up properly in here. I think I do. Where is it? Keyword responder. I gotta make sure I got it. Yeah, right there. Text the number 3. Just the number 3. Not the word 3, but the number 3 to my number 305-384-6894. We'll send you a link for this book. Text me the number 3. 123 to the number. On many of you, you can see it in my pinned comment, but TikTok, y'all can't see it. So my number is in my bio. Go to my bio on TikTok as soon as I end this live stream, which I will in a minute. Text the number 3 to that number. I will send you a link to get this book free. Just tell us where to ship it. Cover the shipping. We will ship you this book. The third day, The Decision Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. This is the third day. My most popular book with professional audiences. So when I speak to sales teams, business organizations, corporate audiences, they like this book and this concept the most. ThirdDayBook.com. Text the number 305-384-6894. You'll also get my daily motivation text, weekly motivation text. 305-384-6894. Shall I say it again? 305-384-6894. You'll be in my texting community. My texting community is where you can send me messages and I respond back to people's texts. Right here, you see all these messages I got in here. These are text messages from people in my text community. You want to be a member of it. It's free to join. Just text me at my number, 305-384-6894. Text the number 3. You'll get a link to my book, The Third Day. Again, just cover the shipping. We'll ship you a copy of this book. It's all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. ThirdDayBook.com. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. I went over today because I went over in my monologue. Usually I'm done by about 10 o'clock, but today I went a little bit extra. Tomorrow we'll be back. The topic is always a current event. I don't know what the topic is going to be. I decide that day what we're going to talk about. So I usually decide in the morning what I'm going to talk about. I get up early. So by the time I start this live, I've been up for several hours. I decide what I'm going to talk about then, and then we get into it. So appreciate everybody who was here today. Appreciate the regulars for coming in and supporting. Appreciate everybody for liking the live. Appreciate the new people, new followers who are on here. As soon as this live ends, go to my profile on TikTok. If you are following me, you'll see it in my profile. If you're not following me, you'll see it too. Go to my profile on TikTok and you see my phone number is right there. My number is right there in my bio, 305-384-6894. Text me at that number with the number 3. I'll send you a link to get a copy of my book, The Third Day. The Decision that Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. We will ship you a physical copy of that book, physically to your doorstep. We will ship you a copy of that book. Just tell us where to send it. Cover the shipping. We got you covered. I will see everybody tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Everybody have a great Monday. Work on your game. We are out of here.